Chapter 955. On one side, Yang Cheng's jealousy and self-encouragement had finally vented the anger and conflicting emotions that had accumulated in the young couple's chests. On the other side, in the special ward of the first hospital of Yinjing, Ning Guangyao was extremely angry. "You'd better explain to me clearly, what do you mean? What do you mean by powerless?" Under the white light, Ning Guangyao faced a bespectacled chief surgeon and asked loudly. The doctor was very timid, but he said helplessly, Premier, we really tried our best. But Department Director Ning, his entire reproductive system, external organs, and internal organs have all suffered serious damage to the point of being unable to recover this. Even if Hua Tuo was reincarnated and Bian Ke was reborn, they would still be unable to cure him. Don't talk nonsense with me. Ning Guangyao's face was ashen as he said, I'll ask you one last time. Is there a way or... There's no way. The doctor looked at Ning Guangyao's eyes that looked like he wanted to eat someone. He wanted to run away, but how could he escape? In the end, he gritted his teeth and could only shake his head. Really, please, Premier, please understand. Understand? The muscles on Ning Guangyao's face twitched as he nodded and laughed strangely. I turn a blind eye to the funds that are spent on you group of white coats every year. But that money is not used to let you ask for understanding at a time like this. The doctor broke out in a cold sweat. Premier, there's really no other way. I know you have no way, so I've decided to understand you. Ning Guangyao's eyes shone sharply. In order for you medical staff to not be so tired, I've decided to let you be free as soon as possible. After saying that, without waiting for the old doctor's doubts, Ning Guangyao gave the bodyguard at the door a look. After the bodyguard nodded, he directly stepped forward, stretched out his arm, grabbed the doctor's neck, and instantly twisted. Crack, crack. With a crisp sound of bones, the doctor immediately stopped breathing and rolled his eyes, as if he didn't understand what was going on before he died. Ning Guangyao ordered in a deep voice, all medical personnel who know about your young master's condition, don't leave a single one behind. Do it cleanly. The bodyguards looked at each other and nodded without hesitation. After a group of bodyguards left to deal with the rest of the work, Ning Guangyao let out a long sigh. She turned around and looked at Ning Guodong, who was frowning in a coma on the hospital bed. Her eyes were filled with heartache and anger. Walking to the bedside, Ning Guangyao held up one of his son's hands and shook it. As if he had made up his mind about something, he turned his head and said to the assistant at the door, Let our medical staff come here to take care of the young master, then prepare the plane. A trace of surprise flashed in the assistant's eyes, but he immediately replied, Yes. Under the deep night sky, the night in Yinjing was unpredictable and blurry. The flying cars shuttling on the highway were like fireflies. In the bedroom of a secluded mansion on the outskirts of Yinjing, the light was dim, and the air was filled with a seductive fragrance. Two figures, a man and a woman, were on a spacious bed, constantly colliding with each other. The voluptuous female body was like an octopus, firmly grabbing onto the man's neck, a pair of round and fair thighs tightly clamped onto the man's waist. The man's figure was relatively thin and weak, but he had a fierce and explosive strength. His entire body was drenched in sweat, making him especially crazy and infatuated as he charged and collided with the woman in his arms. The woman's charming and enchanting mature face gradually flushed with excitement under the continuous high frequency of impact. When a soft moan of ecstasy reverberated through the entire room, the woman's two jade feet, which were still wearing black lace stockings, tightened and stiffened. The man's crotch, on the other hand, trembled for a long time, and his throat emitted a difficult and trembling sound like gears grinding against each other. One of his hands slowly slid down from the woman's back, and he reluctantly grabbed onto the woman's perky buttocks. The greasy feeling made him unable to let go. Ugh, little cripple, your skills are getting better and better. So comfortable. Because of the pouring of love, Luo Suishan, who looked like a young woman in her 20s, stuck out her tender tongue and licked the man's face. Call me Wen Tao. Wen Tao unceremoniously bit Luo, Suishan's red lips. Luo, Suishan said coquettishly, "No, I'll feel especially intimate when I call you little cripple." Wen Tao grinned evilly. His leg was already healed with the help of the Ning family's powerful financial resources. He was no longer a cripple. However, Luo Suishan always called him little cripple. Wen Tao could also understand. This woman, who had now become a complete slut, every time she had sex with him, she would think of the tragic scene of being ganged up on by a few beggars under the bridge in Zhonghai. It was as if that tragic past had instead become the catalyst that stimulated Luo Suishan to reach the peak of pleasure. What a bitch. Wen Tao sneered in his heart, but he pretended to be infatuated with Luo Suishan. "You're so beautiful, Suishan," Wen Tao praised with incomparable sincerity. Luo Suishan's entire body melted into Wen Tao's body like water. "All of this is for you. I became like this. I used all my effort to come back here, all for you. Only you're so good to me." Wen Tao held her in his arms. "I'm so useless. How can I talk about being good to you? It doesn't matter. As long as you have the heart, it's enough." Luo Suishan said with a satisfied expression. Wen Tao caressed the woman's face and asked casually, "Oh right, did you succeed at the party you went to today?" A trace of displeasure flashed across Luo Suishan's eyes. Humph. That Yang Cheng was already prepared. He gave his wife a protective item, but failed. "But it doesn't matter. I have plenty of time. I'm not the only one who wants to torture Yang Cheng. Sooner or later, I'll exhaust him to death." Wen Tao said with a face full of regret. "How hateful. I can't help you at all. If only I could become as powerful as you." Luo Suishan seemed to be shaking her head in fear. "Don't be like me. You just have to stay by my side." "Like me? I'm not a human. I'm not a ghost. I don't even know if I'm alive or dead. I don't even dare to look at myself in the mirror." Wen Tao was slightly surprised, but his expression quickly calmed down. After thinking for a while, he gritted his teeth and said earnestly, "To me, your enemy is my blood enemy. You're facing a predicament now. I don't want you to fight alone. Suishan, tell me, how can I become as powerful as you? Even if I only have half of your abilities, I can still help you better. You don't stop me." Wen Tao said righteously, "Don't you understand my feelings for you? I was just a little beggar who no one cared about before. If it wasn't for you, I would still be starving under the bridge. I just want to be with you now, take revenge, and then live a good life together. Not only do we want to make Yang Cheng pay the price, but we also want that cold-blooded demon from the Ning family to die a graveless death." Luo Suishan looked at Wen Tao's incomparably sincere expression and was moved to tears. "You really want to be like me?" Luo Suishan murmured. Wen Tao nodded solemnly. "Tell me, who helped you, saved you, and who made you so powerful? No matter how much hardship I have to suffer, I'm willing to do it for you." Luo Suishan silently looked at the man for a while, wiped away her tears, and said with a charming smile, "All right, I'll contact Yin Buin tomorrow. He definitely has a way to make you reach my current strength in an instant. But you might have to suffer a lot." "Yin Buin? He is the one who helped you?" Wen Tao asked suspiciously. Luo Suishan smiled. "There's no reason for me to scare you. I won't hold anything back when it comes to you. Don't worry. Although Yin Buin escaped after being defeated by Yang Cheng, that was under his control. He's the most troublesome opponent for Yang Cheng. Among Yin Buin's subordinates, I can only be considered the most useless. That's why he let me come back to Beijing and do whatever I want. As long as we're alive, sooner or later, we can borrow Yin Buin's power to get rid of Yang Cheng and Ning Guangyao. Then what about Ning Guodong?" Wen Tao asked with a difficult expression. Luo Suishan sighed and smiled. "He was born in my womb. Even though I'm no longer the same Luo Suishan, I still can't let him go. As long as he's on my side, I won't give up on him." Wen Tao nodded. "If your plan fails today, will Ning Guodong be killed by Yang Cheng?" "No." Luo Suishan sneered. "Before I came out, I secretly informed Ning Guangyao to go to the party and save Guodong in my name. Ning Guangyao must be scared to death. It would be strange if he didn't go. As long as he goes, Guodong will definitely be fine. When Tao asked curiously why, could it be that Yang Cheng is afraid of Ning Guangyao? That's not it. Luo Tsuishan sneered. That stinky man thought that I didn't know that Yang Cheng's wife, Lin Ruoxi, is his biological daughter. That little slut and her mother, Xue Zijing, are almost the same. As long as it involves blood relatives, their hearts will be in a mess and they will be willing to make concessions. Therefore, Ning Guangyao is eager to protect his son. As long as he begs Lin Ruoxi will definitely help Guodong plead with Yang Cheng. As for Yang Cheng, he also has a weakness. He might be cold-blooded and heartless to others, but to Lin Ruoxi, he has always owed her a lot. In addition, his feelings for her are not ordinary, so he will definitely let Guodong go. When Tao was shocked, what? Lin Ruoxi is Ning Guangyao's daughter? That's right. Luo Suishan caressed Wen Tao's cheek. What's wrong, little cripple? Are you surprised? Wen Tao swallowed his saliva. Then you want Ning Guodong to rape Lin Ruoxi. You want them to be siblings. That's right. Luo Tsuishan's eyes were filled with the flames of revenge. I want Ning Guangyao to see with his own eyes that his own children will talk nonsense because of his stupid actions. But if that's the case, Ning Guodong will definitely understand me as a mother, Luo Tsuishan said coldly. Besides, he likes Xue Zijing's daughter, so he should be taught a lesson. What's wrong, little cripple? Do you think I did something wrong? When Tao hurriedly shook his head and smiled gently. Tsuishan, what are you thinking? No matter what you do, I will support you. It's just that I feel very guilty that I can't help you. Luo Tsuishan instantly smiled seductively, slid down from Wen Tao's chest, and slowly pounced between the man's legs. She looked up and blinked seductively. Little cripple, let's do it again. Without waiting for Wen Tao to say anything, Luo Tsuishan opened her mouth, and the withered bad thing was already in her mouth. Chapter 956. The next day, August 8th, it was the beginning of autumn. After spending another day with Yang Gongming in the Yang family, Lin Ruoxi learned a lot about growing vegetables. Because of these things, she didn't talk to Yang Cheng much, which made Yang Cheng play games with Yuan Yi in his room for half a day. However, just when the woman was in high spirits and was thinking about buying a farm in Zhonghai, Yang Cheng told her that the plane to pick them up had arrived at the Yanjing International Airport. After being reminded, Lin Ruoxi, who was immersed in farm work, suddenly realized that she wasn't here to do farm work. She was going to get married. The woman was caught off guard and was stunned for a while, which made Yang Gongming and Guo Shuehua shake their heads and sigh. This daughter-in-law was a little silly sometimes. Fortunately, the plane was also under Yang Cheng's control, so they didn't need to buy a ticket or catch a flight. They could leave at any time, so they weren't in a hurry to pack. It was already afternoon when they finished all the preparations. Guo Shuehua also set off with them. As for Yang Gongming, as mentioned before, he was too lazy to move when he was old, so he just needed to watch the video. After saying goodbye to the old man, Yang Cheng brought his mother and wife to the international airport. On the way, Lin Ruoxi sorted out her thoughts and asked, "Honey, have you sent someone to pick up Mother Wang?" Yang Cheng nodded and said, "Don't worry, Mother Wang will be picked up by someone. You will see her when you arrive at the destination." Lin Ruoxi couldn't help but ask curiously for the first time, "Where are we going?" Guo Shuehua was also very excited and looked at Yang Cheng with a puzzled look. Yang Cheng smiled mysteriously and said, "I'll tell you when we get on the plane." Guo Shuehua laughed and scolded, "You're playing dumb with your mother. I'm afraid I'm the only mother who doesn't know where her son is getting married." An hour later, the three of them walked to the private boarding area from the exclusive VIP passage. Leading the three of them were two tall, graceful, and soft-spoken Caucasian women. Although they were wearing navy blue stewardess uniforms, they looked like European and American fashion models in terms of appearance. Lin Ruoxi couldn't help but feel a little nervous. She got closer to Yang Cheng and whispered, "Don't tell me they have that kind of relationship with you." Yang Cheng pinched the woman's face and said, "What are you thinking? They are my subordinates. They are specially dressed as stewardesses to attend my wedding." Your subordinates? Were their real jobs? Lin Ruashi asked in confusion. Yangchen thought for a while. I can't really remember. Anyway, she's either an assassin or a mercenary. She can't be a decent girl. She's very wild. She's just acting for you. Lin Ruashi was speechless. She looked at the two elegant figures in front of her and felt even more confused. After 5 or 6 minutes, they finally arrived at the parking lot. When a giant plane that was 6 or 7 stories high and almost 100 meters long with a wingspan that was even longer appeared in front of them, Lin Ruashi and Guo were a little dumbfounded. Yang Cheng walked to the boarding stairs that were covered with a red carpet. When he turned around and saw that the two women didn't follow him, he smiled and waved. Honey, Mom, why are you in a daze? Lin Ruashi's cold face was in a daze. She opened her mouth in a dramatic manner, revealing an innocent and cute expression. This is an Airbus A380? Lin Ruashi was familiar with passenger planes since she was a frequent international traveler. This was the world's largest passenger plane that was rare in Huaxia. She naturally knew about it. As the giant of the sky, the A380 could carry nearly 900 passengers. Without a doubt, this was a terrifying internal space of the plane. Just the fuel storage alone could store 310,000 liters of fuel at one time. But now, this world's largest passenger plane had become a special plane for the three of them. Yang Cheng was a little confused and asked, Yeah, why do you look like this? Or do you think the design of the plane is not good enough? Sigh, there is nothing I can do. It is not a wedding car that will look beautiful in 10 minutes. It is more troublesome to decorate the plane. If I put some big red ribbons on the outside of the plane, it will easily cause an accident. If there is an accident, I can save you guys, but the dozens of staff on the plane will have to parachute. It is so troublesome to parachute. Maybe when we reach the shark area, I will have to kill sharks for a long time. If you want to spray paint something, I don't think it is necessary. Anyway, it will only be used twice. It will be weird to fly around with all kinds of colors in the future. Listening to Yang Cheng's nonsensical explanation, Guo, who had recovered from the shock, went forward and pulled her daughter-in-law's hand. She said, Ruashi, let's go up. Yang Cheng's brain structure might be a little special. Lin Ruashi looked at her husband, who was talking about something completely unrelated, and nodded in agreement. However, there was no doubt that Lin Ruashi, who had just taken the first step of the wedding, was looking forward to what was going to happen next. As they entered the cabin with Yang Cheng, Lin Ruashi and Guo were amazed by the built-in scenery that appeared in front of them. This was completely different from the decoration of an ordinary A380. The cabin, which was supposed to have 2 floors, was directly set to only 1 floor. The high cabin roof made the entire interior of the huge fuselage exceptionally spacious and bright. The entire structure was built with mahogany and elk leather as the main materials. Many of the details were handled with expensive materials such as crystals and gems. Not only was it beautiful, but it also ensured the integrity of the entire decoration. The lights hanging down from the top were all beautiful European-style crystal chandeliers. Near many of the cabin doors, there were also many fresh potted plants fixed on protruding brackets. On the luxurious Persian carpet, there were all kinds of leather sofas, couches, tables, and chairs. A bar filled with all kinds of wine was set up in the middle. As for electronic equipment, such as televisions and computers, they could be seen everywhere. It could be said that this was completely a luxurious private clubhouse. There were about 20 to 30 tall ladies dressed in blue stewardess uniforms with different skin colors. After bowing respectfully to Yang Chun and the others, they immediately welcomed them to their seats. Yang Cheng spoke to a group of girls in a strange foreign language that Lin Ruashi and Guo couldn't understand. The girls then served a variety of snacks, drinks, and tropical fruits that they had never seen before. After Yang Chun had his eyes on most of the items, he waved his hand, and the ladies immediately left the main hall. From a pile of drinks, Yang Chun took a glass of maroon wine and sent it to Guo. He smiled and said, Mom, try this. It's a vanilla wine from Ibiza Island. It should be more suitable for you. Guo took it and smelled it curiously. Her eyes lit up. Is this really wine? Why does it smell so fresh? Why would I lie to you? Yang Chung smiled and said, this wine actually has the effect of medicinal wine. It can relieve fatigue. It's okay to drink more. Guo Shuihua nodded happily. She took a sip and quickly took a second sip. Lin Ruoshi looked at it for a while and turned to look at Yang Chung. What should I drink? Yang Chung said happily, drink whatever you want. I used to live off a woman. This time, I will pay the bill. Who told you this? Lin Ruoshi pouted. You recommended something for Mom. I also want you to recommend something. Yang Chun finally understood. Awkwardly, he scratched his head and took out a crystal glass filled with light green wine. This is absinthe produced on the Mediterranean coast. When translated into Hua Xia language, it should be absinthe. You can try it. I like the taste very much. After Lin Ruoshi took it, she said with some worry, I heard that the alcohol content of absinthe is around 45 or 50%. Will I get drunk? Don't worry. This absinthe is different from ordinary ones. The alcohol content is only about 10%. Honey is added, so the taste of the fennel is very refreshing and not bitter. Yang Chung smiled. Lin Ruoshi was relieved and took a sip. It really tasted good. Her mouth was full of fragrance. How is it? Your husband still has some skills. Yang Chung picked up a glass of white wine and said proudly, it's okay. Lin Ruoshi took another sip and looked up. Now tell us where we are going. Chapter 9:57. Yang Chung said regretfully, why are you in such a hurry? It's going to be a long journey. It'll be boring if you don't enjoy the delicacies I prepared for you. How far? Lin Ruoshi asked curiously. Yang Chung smiled and clapped his hands to call a stewardess into the cabin. After the stewardess came in, Yang Chung spoke to her in fluent Italian. The stewardess replied awkwardly. Lin Ruoshi and Yang Chung couldn't understand what she was saying. The stewardess looked at them with pleading eyes. Yang Chung sighed. She said that it's not convenient to turn on the satellite image when we're about to take off. I see. Forget it then. Lin Ruoshi smiled at the stewardess in a friendly manner. Yang Chung gave the stewardess a few more instructions. The stewardess understood and left the cabin. Yang Chung said, I'll get the captain to play the image of the map after the plane takes off. I'll explain it to you then. You're so full of twists and turns, Guo Shuihua jokingly scolded. 10 minutes later, the gigantic Airbus took off from the Beijing International Airport. After entering the stratosphere, the behemoth appeared to be exceptionally stable and smooth. On the huge LED screen in the main cabin, a detailed satellite navigation map appeared. Yang Chen stood up and gestured for his wife and mother to walk in front of the screen. He pointed at a white route that stretched from Beijing all the way to a certain area in Europe. He nodded and said, this is our destination. Lin Ruoshi took a closer look and asked hesitantly, this is the Mediterranean Sea? To be exact, it's the Ionian Sea in the Mediterranean Sea. Yang Chung smiled. Where is that? I've never heard of it. Guo Shuihua was puzzled. Yang Chung said, the Ionian Sea is a bay in the Mediterranean Sea. To the north is the Adriatic Sea, to the west is Italy and Sicily, and to the east is Albania and Greece. Because of the collision of the tectonic plates, there were many underwater volcanoes in this area, and it was also an area where earthquakes occurred frequently all year round. But because of this, the temperature is very mild all year round, and the scenery is very pleasant. Son, don't tell me you're going to leave us at sea to hold the wedding. Guo Shuihua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Yang Chung smiled mysteriously and pointed at a gray dot at the center of the Ionian Sea. What is that? Lin Ruoshi had always wanted to ask. This is our final destination. It is a place that belongs only to me. It's called the Forgotten Realms, Forgotten Realms. Lin Ruoshi repeated it twice, but still couldn't believe it. She asked, you said it's yours? That no one else can go there? Yang Chung shook his head and explained, actually, there were some natives of the Mediterranean Sea a long time ago. They belonged to Britain, and they mainly built some prisons to hold those heinous criminals. But during World War II, because of the chaos and turmoil in Europe, the prisoners in these prisons escaped and then occupied this place. Just like the Italian mafia in Sicily, they were entrenched there, and no one could touch them. Therefore, many people called Ionians who were vagrants and exiles had no relatives or friends. After being unable to exist in ordinary society, they successively ascended to that place. Gradually, the people on this place formed their own system. There was no so-called government, no so-called law, and no one was kind. However, there were no conflicts of interest, and they just wanted to live a stable life. In the end, it became an independent small world. They only accepted those who were not accepted by the secular world, and the condition for entering and enjoying the rest of their lives was to give up the bloodshed outside. Son, you mean the people up there are all evildoers? Guishuehua asked stiffly. Yang Chung smiled and said, Mom, you're thinking too much. The first people were indeed prisoners who escaped from the prison, but those people are long dead. Now, apart from the natives, most of the people living there are from the organizations that submitted to me. They were tired of fighting and went there to enjoy a free life alone or with their families. They may indeed have a past that is not accepted by others, but now they are just ordinary residents. Guashuahua felt a little on Sheen, and then asked suspiciously, According to what you said, this place should be quite famous. Why haven't I heard of it? Lin Ruashi also looked at Yang Chung curiously. As I said before, this used to belong to Britain. Later, after I saved the British Welsh royal family, they chose to give it to me as their personal property. At that time, I was worried about settling some of my subordinates who wanted to retire and find a place to live a stable life, so I took it. However, in order not to be disturbed by the outside world, I made the satellites of all the countries in the world avoid that area by default, so ordinary satellite images can't see this area. As for people approaching, the satellite radar on the island is very comprehensive. Once it is discovered, there will be patrolling ships to deal with it immediately. Ordinary people won't have the chance to see it at all. Welsh royal family. You mean Jane's mother, Catherine? Lin Ruashi pouted sourly. Yang Chung smiled at Shan Shan. That's her, but she goes there occasionally. You should know that my kingdom has very beautiful scenery. When you get there, you will definitely fall in love with it. If you are willing in the future, I don't mind staying there for a long time. Many of my old friends miss me very much. We'll see when the time comes. Lin Ruashi wrinkled her nose. I'm not going to live in the place that woman gave me. Yang Chung was speechless for a while. How could you be jealous? Gua Shuahua said in surprise. Yang Chung, you said that the governments of all the countries are willing to help you wipe this off the map? Is it really that amazing? Obviously, she didn't dare to believe her son's authority. Mom, do you think the United States thinks that their New York or my island is more important? Of course it's their own New York. Guishuahua said immediately. Yang Chung shrugged. I don't think they will fall out with me over such a small island. After all, it's easy for them to help me hide the island, but if I destroy their New York, it won't be something that could be rebuilt in a day or two. Guishuahua gulped. Once again, she felt that her son abroad was far beyond her imagination. Lin Ruashi stared at the small gray dot on the map. Her beautiful eyes were full of splendor. They had just taken off, but she was already looking forward to the scenery. The time on the plane was originally boring, but Yang Chung had already thought of this. Hence, he asked his subordinates to collect a large number of Mediterranean-style snacks and drinks. They spent the whole journey eating and drinking. Time slipped away unknowingly, and Lin Ruashi became more and more nervous. After flying for about 10 hours, Lin Ruashi suddenly blushed and said shyly, Hubby, are we really going to get married? Yang Chung was eating a fig produced by the Mediterranean coast. When he heard this topic, he almost spat it out. Even Gua Shuahua, who was sipping red wine and reading a magazine, almost dropped her presbyopic glasses to the ground. Without waiting for Yang Chung to ask, Guishuahua adjusted her presbyopic glasses and said with a bitter smile, Ruashi, what nonsense are you talking about? Lin Ruashi bit her lips in embarrassment. I feel a little. It feels like a dream. Do you need me to pinch you? Yang Chung asked seriously. You dare. I don't dare. Yang Chung smiled and said, Don't tell me you have a bride's fear of marriage. We're already an old couple. It's so embarrassing. Let's forget about it. Who's an old couple with you? Lin Ruashi was so angry that she didn't know what to do. However, the trace of nervousness that felt like a dream was really gone. After chatting noisily for a few hours, the plane finally began to slowly descend. When the plane descended from the clouds and gradually approached the Mediterranean Sea below, Lin Ruashi and Guo Shuihua looked out of the window of the plane with long-awaited anticipation. Lin Ruashi immediately exclaimed in surprise when she saw what it was. Chapter 958. Hubby, why are there so many of them? Is the Forgotten Realms an archipelago? Yang Cheng walked behind the woman and held Lin Ruashi's shoulder. He looked at the familiar scenery from the sky and smiled. You can say that, but there's only one main thing, which is our wedding venue. Lin Ruashi nodded and gazed at it with a dazzling look in her eyes. It was as if someone had scattered strings of sparkling pearls on the Ionian Sea, and the reefs were scattered all over. The sky was a piece of blue jade, and the sea was a piece of emerald. From afar, the water and the sky were connected, and the combination of emerald and blue jade was spectacular. As the A380 slowly spiraled down, the scenery below became clearer. On the vast sea, white sand surrounded the emerald green, and the winding scenery didn't seem like it belonged to the human world. As the scenery below became clearer, Lin Ruashi also saw many houses, fields, and crisscrossing, winding roads. She could even see many airships, jets, and gliders shuttling back and forth. Fortunately, the place where the Airbus was going to land was a large airport that extended from the sea, so they didn't have to worry about being disturbed by these small airships. More than 20 minutes later, the plane landed smoothly at the airport outside the huge island. White sand surrounded the entire airport, and a wide and straight road made of granite led to the depths of the main island. The moment Lin Ruashi stepped out of the plane, she smelled the fresh scent of the sea and the sun. The air seemed to carry some pleasant and relaxing particles, and all the tiredness from the journey instantly disappeared. As Guo Shuihua also stepped out of the cabin, the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law were a little dazed by the magnificent scenery in front of them. That's a volcano. Lin Ruashi saw from afar that in the middle of the island was an active volcano that was emitting faint smoke. Yang Cheng nodded. That's right. The geographical environment here is quite turbulent. Although there hasn't been an eruption for more than 100 years, the volcano has always existed. Because of the volcano, the vegetation on the island is especially dense, and the crops planted here can easily produce a large number of fruits. Lin Ruashi only felt that everything in front of her was full of novelty, but she was also a little deterred by the unfamiliar environment. Under Yang Cheng's hand, the two slowly got off the plane. On the other hand, Guo Shuihua was much more at ease. She felt that this territory belonged to her son, so she didn't have to feel restrained. Not far from where the plane landed, a group of men and women dressed in all kinds of clothes came up to greet Yang Cheng and the others when they saw them. Among them was Mother Wang, who had arrived early. At this time, Mother Wang was wearing a flower dress that was specially changed for her, which made Mother Wang, who didn't look old, look a bit younger. She also wore a beautiful yellow-red flower on her head, which was especially eye-catching. Mother Wang, Lin Ruashi hadn't seen the elder who had grown up with her for a few days. She immediately ran up and hugged Mother Wang affectionately. Mother Wang looked at Yang Cheng and Guo Shuihua embarrassedly, then said to Lin Ruashi, "Miss, you're finally here. The people here are very friendly, but I feel weird being alone. Yuan, it's fine if you're dressed like this, but why are you wearing flowers? Are you planning to go on a blind date on the island?" Guo Shuihua joked. Mother Wang looked to the side awkwardly and saw a handsome old man in a simple checkered suit and trousers. His silver-white hair was meticulously combed. "This was all prepared for me by this Mr. On. He said that I had to dress like this to attend the wedding. I thought that I had to cooperate with a young lady's wedding, so I wore it." "Shuihua, don't make fun of me." When Mother Wang mentioned this, Guo and Lin Ruoshi then noticed that the person who led all the welcoming staff was this handsome old man called Ron. The old man looked at least 60 or 70 years old, but his skin was ruddy and he was in high spirits. What was admirable was that his back was straight, and he was modest and generous. His noble and proud attitude made people couldn't help but be in awe. Ron, on the other hand, only looked at Lin Ruoshi kindly for a while before looking at Yangcheng with a gaze full of emotions. Your Majesty Pluto, welcome back to the Forgotten Realms. Ron von Constantine, your loyal butler, has been waiting for a long time, Ron said and bowed humbly. With this action, all the staff present bowed reverently. This scene made Guo and Lin Ruoshi stunned. On the other hand, Yangcheng was used to this and smiled casually. Ron, that's enough. No matter how much you bow to me, I won't give you a raise. Lin Ruoshi wanted to go up and kick this man. The old man was already so old. How could he still be so impolite? Ron smiled with satisfaction. Your Majesty Pluto, you look happier than before. I'm very happy. Yangcheng went forward and patted the old man's shoulder. Then he introduced him to Lin Ruoshi and the others. This is the patriarch of the Italian Constantine family, Ron von Constantine. Of course, this is not his full name. His full name is very perverted. His ancestor is Caesar of the ancient Roman Empire. Of course, who knows how many bloodlines there are in his generation, but it's definitely authentic. After Lin Ruoshi silently recited Ron's full name a few times, she felt that it was a little familiar. Then she remembered that he was going to make clothes for Mother Wang. Her eyes lit up. She couldn't help but cover her red lips with her little hand and said, You are the fashion designer, Ron. Ron nodded very gently and said, Madam Persephone, it's the first time we meet. Yes, one of my professions is indeed a fashion designer. At the same time, I'm also in charge of the clothing for your wedding with Your Majesty Pluto. I have already designed your wedding dress for you. When Lin Ruoshi heard the word wedding dress, she was first happy and then shy. Then she said, I am in the fashion industry, and I have only heard of your name, Master. Because you rarely appear in fashion exhibitions, only produce works, and your works are very rare. I didn't expect to see you today. I have always admired your bohemian-style design. Ron was quite delighted and said, I am very honored to receive your appreciation. However, Lin Ruoshi immediately thought of another thing. She pouted and said to Yangcheng, I remember, when you first entered the company, the final question of the assessment was Master Ron's bohemian-style gown. No wonder you're the only one who answered correctly. It turns out that you know Master Ron. If Lin Ruoshi hadn't mentioned it, Yangcheng had almost forgotten about it. Now that he remembered it, he laughed and said, Who asked you to choose my personal fashion designer? Most of the clothes I used to wear were made by him. Of course, I know my own style. Lin Ruoshi was annoyed. She only felt that she was cheated by Yangcheng. But it was all in the past, and the woman didn't want to delve into it. However, Ron's words made her a little confused. She asked, Master Ron, just now you said that designer is one of your professions. Do you also design other things? For Lin Ruoshi, who was in this industry, she was certainly very interested in legendary figures in the design world. Ron smiled a little shyly and looked at Yangcheng, wanting to ask if he should say it. Yangcheng nodded and said, Go ahead. We are all on the same side. Ron nodded and replied, To tell you the truth, Madam Persephone, the Constantine family I belong to is the leading family of the Italian mafia. As soon as this was said, not only did Guo and Mother Wang say it, but Lin Ruoshi's little face stiffened. Such a kind old man turned out to be a mafia member. The mafia also designed clothes? Yangcheng felt that the woman's expression was particularly interesting. He continued, Not only is he the patriarch of the mafia family, but Ron is also the lifetime honorary president of the Sicilian Mafia Alliance. Another explosion, making Lin Ruoshi feel that the world was full of absurdity. Ron hurriedly said gratefully, that was in the past, when the special forces of Britain, France, and Italy besieged Sicily. It was thanks to Your Majesty Pluto that I was able to turn the tide. It gave me the opportunity to lead several big families of the mafia out of trouble, and I was pursued by everyone. If it weren't for your grace of rebirth, I wouldn't be here today. That's all in the past. Now, I'm just an old butler in the Forgotten Kingdom." Yangqing looked at the old man, who fell into a state of nostalgia and was quite helpless. He patted Ron on the shoulder and said, "All right, old friend, get in the car. Those guys on the island must have been waiting for a long time." Chapter 959. Perhaps it was because when one got older, no matter how mighty and domineering they were in the past, they would become a little talkative. After the four of them sat in the extended convertible SUV that was specially designed for sightseeing on the island, Ron still sat in the front passenger seat, talking about the things that he had been holding back for a long time. "Madam Persephone, the wedding is scheduled for tomorrow. After lunch, please follow me to my room and try on the wedding dress that was specially tailored for you. Oh, by the way, you may be curious, how did I know your size?" Actually, this old man has a little ability. I can calculate all the required sizes through photos and images. Listening to the old man ramble on about his proud war progress, Lin Ruoshi could only smile and listen carefully, while Mother Wang and Guo Shuahua looked at each other and smiled bitterly, feeling that this old man was quite cute. "Come on, Ron." Yangqing couldn't help but interrupt. "You're always pretending to be young with your presbyopia, refusing to admit that you're old, and refusing to wear glasses. How accurate can you be with that kind of eyesight? It's obvious that your assistant told you." Ron hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Your Majesty Pluto, you are really too outdated." "What? Don't you know that presbyopia can also wear contact lenses?" Ron pointed at his pupils. "Look, it's still colored silver gray." Yangqing took a closer look, and this guy's eyes really changed color. As the old man spoke in Hua Xia language fluently, everyone in the car could understand, and the three women all burst out laughing. Lin Ruoshi said, "Mr. Ron, can you just call me by my name, that long name? It's very strange." For a contemporary woman, being called the name of an ancient Greek mythological character, Lin Ruoshi was indeed not used to it. "Of course, Miss Lin." Ron continued to smile. "Where's I just now?" "Oh yes, I was talking about your wedding dress. I think Miss Lin won't doubt my taste, but because it's my first time designing a woman's wedding dress, there are some things I need to learn. In order to design my first and last wedding dress, I even went to New York to meet my friend, Ms. Vera Wang, and asked her for advice." Lin Ruoshi said excitedly, "Are you talking about the queen of wedding dresses, Madame Wang Weiwei?" "Yes, she's an expert in wedding dresses, but she's not as good as me in other aspects. I just asked her how to handle a few details, and I did the rest myself." "Oh, I can't wait to see Miss Lin wear the white gift I prepared for you." Yangqing pursed his lips and said, "Ron, don't use all my gems and diamonds on a wedding dress. It's only meant to be worn once. It's too heavy if you put too much on it. There's no need." Hearing this, Lin Ruoshi rolled her eyes at the man angrily and muttered, "Stingy." Ron smiled amiably and said, "Don't worry, Your Majesty Pluto. To be honest, you've left too many jewels with me. I don't know what to choose, so I might as well not use those. A wedding dress made of pure, ecological materials will be more comfortable and in line with the beautiful mood of the wedding." Yangqing nodded in satisfaction and turned to Lin Ruoshi. "Why are you rolling your eyes? Diamonds are so tacky. Everyone gets married with that. Didn't I already give you a Patek Philippe's Henry Graves? That's much more valuable than diamonds. That's different. Sparkling things look so pleasing. It's just like how men like sports cars and women like gems. The more the better. Besides, didn't you say you still have a gift for me?" Lin Ruoshi reminded. Yangqing smiled and said, "My Ruoshi, good girl, you're really getting more and more impolite. Even if I'm not polite, you still have so many women outside. If I'm polite, will there still be a place for me?" Lin Ruoshi said without hesitation. Yangqing immediately lost the strength to resist. It seemed that this woman wanted to put all the good things in her pocket. Shanshan smiled and said, "There will be. You can only see the gift after the wedding. You're still talking in riddles." Lin Ruoshi pouted and didn't continue to ask. As the car drove into the main island, the scenery of all the islands once again squeezed into everyone's eyes in detail. The top of the active volcano in the center was emitting bursts of smoke. Below the volcano was a dense subtropical jungle. The forest that was like a blue sea was rolling like waves. During this period, the terrace structure should be the vegetable and other planting grounds of the residents. Further down, one could see some tall, colorful, hot air balloon-shaped water towers. At the furthest corners, there were a few relatively steep peaks. Returning to the vicinity, the most eye-catching thing was the beach house with white walls and red roofs built by the seaside. The house wasn't tall, but it was brightly colored, like a world from a Nordic fairy tale. The white and delicate beach extended to the distant sea. Many men, women, and children of different skin colors were sunbathing on the beach, building sandcastles, and there were also many people surfing on the sea. Guo couldn't help but ask curiously, "Mr. Ron, how many people are there on this island?" Ron nodded and said, "Dear madam, there are about 1,000 natives on the island, and there are more than 2,000 people in the gray crowd seeking protection from His Majesty Pluto. In addition, there are more than 200 children. Those children were born by the residents here. When the children need to enter middle school, they will be sent back to the European continent to live." "Are these people all on the island?" "Not all of them," Ron explained, "because the Forgotten Kingdom often has some private and adventurous ships approaching, so we have 500 adults on the island. They are organized into a garrison force, and they use 12 destroyers to patrol the outer sea in shifts. Usually, there are about 2,000 people." Guo and Mother Wang listened with great interest. This island was like a self-proclaimed paradise, and it was also a fortress of its own. What was rare was that the scenery here was indeed far better than some famous tourist attractions on islands. As the car entered the dense forest, what appeared in front of them was a winding, flat stone road that began to rise and fall according to the terrain. The use of stone slabs instead of asphalt, cement, etc. was obviously to protect the environment, making it look more natural. With a slight bump, the off-road vehicle drove into a cluster of houses that were filled with a Mediterranean coastal style. Every house was made of light wooden planks and decorated with all kinds of colorful decorations. Beautiful totems were outlined on the door frames and windows. In the middle was an ancient Roman-style fountain pool, and a group of children were playing hopscotch by the pool, having a lot of fun. And near the chimneys of many houses, there was already smoke curling up, and all kinds of fragrant food seemed to be calling to the people from afar. Many residents outside, seeing Ron coming here with Yang Cheng and the others, couldn't help but show joy on their faces. They put down their various work, such as chopping firewood or drying fish, and ran towards Yang Cheng and bowed slightly. "Your Majesty Pluto, welcome back," said a woman wearing a headscarf with a smile. "Congratulations on your wedding, Your Majesty." There were also a few rough-looking but gentle-looking men who kindly gave their blessings. Yang Cheng also greeted these residents in various languages and asked about their living conditions in the past 2 years. Lin Ruoshi and the others couldn't understand Portuguese, Russian, and German, so they could only ask Ron, "Mr. Ron, are these people the Aborigines or outsiders?" Ron explained with a smile, "Ms. Lin, on the island, the Aborigines live on the west side of their respective territories. This is where the people who have sought refuge with Your Majesty Pluto live. There are a total of 5 villages, and most of the people in this village are the first to know Your Majesty Pluto. Don't underestimate these guys." The woman wearing a headscarf is called Shachenlir, the female leader of a terrorist organization that is still wanted worldwide in Russia. And her husband, Sabo, is the former leader of the Iraqi anti-government organization. After escaping the pursuit of the U.S. military, he hid here. Listening to Ron's introduction, Lin Ruoshi and the others could only stare blankly, because none of these people sounded good. Chapter 960. Yang Cheng, on the other hand, seemed to be particularly happy after meeting his old acquaintances. All kinds of foreign languages were his mother tongue to him, and he spoke about all kinds of interesting things at the same time. "Your Majesty Pluto, you really seem to have changed. You're much more cheerful than before," a middle-aged man with a curly beard said. "That must be because I'm getting married, and Your Majesty Pluto has finally grown up," Chappelle, who was wearing a headscarf, said. Everyone laughed, then walked up to Lin Ruoshi, nodded sincerely, and greeted her in English. Although everyone's accent was weird, Lin Ruoshi could understand at least. She was a little embarrassed to say a few words of gratitude to these people who seemed to only be seen on the news. Initially, she thought that these people were eccentric and aloof, but after interacting with them for a while, Lin Ruoshi realized that they were actually very friendly. They didn't hold back when they chatted, and when they opened up their hearts, they were especially intimate. Even Guishuahua and Mother Wong thought that these people were actually quite cute, and they even asked them some curious questions. Just when everyone was enjoying themselves, the door of a brown wooden house with a semicircular roof was suddenly pushed open from the inside. Hey, stop fighting. Dear, stop fighting. A skinny blonde man ran out of the house, holding a shiny donut in his hand. Behind the man, a woman with a waist like a bucket and a face like a rubber ball, with wavy chestnut hair, wearing a big apron, ran out of the house with a rolling pin in her hand. Damn it, wild boar, where are you running to? The fat woman shouted, and directly threw the rolling pin at the man's back. Ouch! The man was hit directly, and the rolling pin hit the bullseye like a cannonball. The man stumbled and fell, falling right in front of Yang Chung and the others. Let's see where you can run to. The woman rushed up and pulled the man up with one hand. She snatched the half-eaten donut from the man's hand and stuffed it into her mouth. The woman chewed on it and said vaguely, "How many times have I told you? Don't sneak a bite while I'm cooking. Are you tired of living?" The man cried, "Dear, I'm really hungry. Also, can you stop hitting my back in the future? If you hurt my kidney, what will happen to your sexual happiness?" "Humph. At most, I'll just find a few strong men. That little worm of yours is no longer useful," the woman said straightforwardly. "No," the man immediately begged. "Dear, on our wedding day, you said that I'm the only one you'll ever love. I swear to God. I didn't say I would only sleep with you." The woman rolled her eyes. So, this pair of enemies was actually a young couple. After looking at them for a while, Yang Chung finally recognized them. His mouth twitched as he said, "Isabella, Brewster." Only then did the fat woman and the thin man turn their heads. When they saw Yang Chung, they both exclaimed. Then, the two of them quickly let go of each other and said with a smile, "Your Majesty Pluto, so you've already arrived? Oh, this must be Lady Persephone. Welcome, you're really beautiful, much more beautiful than in the photo." To be honest, the performance of these two people had already frozen the expressions of everyone present. Lin Ruoshi nodded and smiled awkwardly, but she didn't know what to say. Yang Chung didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "What's going on? Isabella, when did you become this figure? And you, Brewster, did you succeed in losing weight?" This man and woman were Sauron's daughter and Maekden's grandson. Previously, Yang Chung had missed their wedding, but he still knew about it. However, the enchanting little wild cat, Isabella, had become a barrel-waisted woman. As for the real wild boar, the originally fat Brewster had become a thin matchstick. Marriage was indeed a wonderful thing. The two of them had even swapped their figures. Of course, if one was a sensible person, they would know the reason why Brewster had really lost weight. "Your Majesty Pluto, you have to uphold justice for me. If Isabella touches another man, I'll go hang myself," Brewster said mournfully. Isabella directly pulled one of his ears and cursed. "Stinky man, I haven't even touched you yet, and you're threatening me with death? Why don't you run away from home and fall into the sea to be eaten by sharks?" Yang Chung patted Brewster's shoulder and said with a smile, "Don't worry, buddy. Your wife is like this now. There shouldn't be any man who would touch her." "Hey, Your Majesty Pluto, you're not giving me any face. You watch me grow up. How can you say such a thing?" "Damn it," Yang Chung said angrily. "When did I watch you grow up? Aren't you only 1 year younger than me?" "That counts." Isabella grabbed her apron and shook her fat waist. She pouted cutely. In Isabella's heart, you're at the level of an uncle. Yang Cheng's face was about to turn green, but there was nothing he could do. It was only because he and her father, Sauron, were of the same generation. Lin Ruoshi finally couldn't help but giggle. She only felt that this couple was too funny. However, this sweet smile made Yang Chung feel pleasing to the eye. He reached out to the woman's waist and said, "Let's go in and see what this little wild cat, oh no, fat wildcat has made." Being hugged like this, and with so many people watching, Lin Ruashi felt a little shy. However, it was not appropriate to push the man away at this time, so she could only lower her head and follow. This house, which looked like a large farm warehouse, was Ron's residence on this planet. Although it looked very old, the interior decoration was full of rich luxury. On the high walls, there were all kinds of ornaments made of the leather of various beasts. Just the fur of the moon bear alone was extremely precious. There were many shotguns hanging on the wall, and by the stove, there were several large soft sofas made of century-old mahogany and elk skin. The crystal chandelier hung from the high dome, dazzling. At this moment, on the long oval dining table in the center, a one-eyed, red-haired, strong man in a tight blue shirt and a bald fat man in a large flowery shirt were arguing about some topic. In front of each of them was an open bottle of wine. The wine bottle looked particularly exquisite, black and transparent, like a glass work of art. And these two people were naturally Sauron and Makedon. Although they had become relatives, the two old guys did not have the slightest intention of getting along peacefully. As soon as he entered the door and saw the two drinking, Ron's old eyes suddenly widened. Oh, no! Ron's silver hair was about to stand on end. With a cry of surprise, Ron rushed forward and grabbed the two open bottles of wine from the table. "Bastard, you are blood-sucking worms." Ron rubbed his two bottles of wine painfully and cursed. "I shouldn't have let you eat in my house. No, you must compensate me." Sauron and Makedon stood up slowly, ignoring the old man, and directly walked around to Yang Chung. "Your Majesty Pluto, we have been waiting for a long time. Miss Lin, we meet again. And this is Madam, right?" Sauron greeted in a formal manner. His feelings were sincere, but he did look a little fierce, which made Guoshuahua and Mother Wang a little afraid. Makedon was much more comical and said cheerfully, "What a wonderful time. I can't wait to see tomorrow's wedding. Your Majesty Pluto, I have to thank you. If it wasn't for your arrival this time, neither I nor the red-haired eagle would have known that this old guy Ron actually hid a collection of Louis XIII black pearls next to his fireplace." "Well, I agree with that. Ron is too cunning and doesn't know how to share," Sauron made a cold joke. Yang Chung raised his eyebrows. Only then did he remember what kind of wine that beautiful bottle was. No wonder Ron was so excited. One must know that only the wine produced in Cognac in the southwest of France could be called real Cognac wine. The large and small Champagne regions where Cognac grapes were produced were divided into equal numbers. The large Champagne region's grapes were scarce, but the quality was extremely high. Therefore, most of the Cognac was made from a small part of the large Champagne region's grapes and the small Champagne region's grapes. Generally, the top Cognac had at most 80% of the grapes from the large Champagne region. The Louis XIII Black Pearl was completely made from the top grapes from the large Champagne region. The distillation process of brewing was quite special, absorbing the rich fragrance of the sediments left behind by the fermented grapes, making the wine particularly mellow. The Louis XIII Black Pearl Magnum was taken from the oldest and most precious of the Remy Martin family's private cellar, the Tirkin cask. During the fermentation process, a unique golden color was added to make the wine more mellow. The bartenders mixed more than 1,200 kinds of original wines from the large Champagne region to complete the brewing. Finally, the crystal wine bottle was handmade by the crystal master Baccarat. The black crystal bottle body was infused with platinum. The bottleneck was carved with 24K pure gold. The light and shadow flashed, rotated, and then reflected with the light, creating an unpredictable optical illusion. Ron's two bottles of Louis XIII Black Pearl Magnum were limited to 358 bottles in the world, and each bottle was engraved with a noble number. It could be said that any one of them could be auctioned for more than $100,000, and there was still a price, but no market. Ron looked at the two bottles of brandy in his hands that had been half drunk. He looked like he was about to cry. It seemed like his soul was about to leave his body. Chapter 961. Makedon grinned and rubbed his round belly. He smiled and said, Ron, you don't have to go so far. Although the Constantine family is a bit rotten, there's still a lot of good wine. This, this is the wine I plan to keep for a few years when I'm about to die. Old Ron said in tears. Sauron replied stiffly, If you're going to die, be more straightforward. Don't waste the wine. One-eyed red-haired bird, this is not your wine. You and this fatty have to pay for it. Ron shouted ungentlemanly. However, how could these two fellows pay back? One looked into the distance, and the other scratched his ears and pretended not to hear. Yang Chung looked at the old man and patted him on the shoulder. He said, Forget it. Let's drink these 2 bottles together today. I remember I have a few bottles of 1811 Eigenchateau white wine. You help me with logistics, so you must know where to put it. Go and drink it yourself. Ron said gratefully, Your Majesty Pluto is considerate, but that wine doesn't suit my taste. Can you change it to 2 other Medusa wines from Domaine de Romancani? Old fox, you must be doing this on purpose. 1 Medusa is worth 2 black pearls. Make Don cursed. Yang Chung was also quite helpless. These guys were really as good as before. However, he didn't have much of a preference for good wine, so he generously promised to give them to Ron. Following that, as everyone sat down, Isabella, the fat cook, brought out the sumptuous Mediterranean seafood cooking that she had made. As a helper, Brewster obediently poured wine for everyone. During the meal, they chatted with Yang Chung, mostly in English so as not to leave Lin Ruoshi and the others out. However, he always felt a little creepy when he heard words like fighter jet models, nuclear warheads, nuclear submarines, and so on. Halfway through the meal, Isabella slammed the table and said, You old guys, why are you talking about war in front of Miss Lin and Madam? Tomorrow is His Majesty Pluto's wedding. Can't you talk about something interesting? Towards her father and in-laws, this fat girl did not have the slightest bit of courtesy. Beside him, Broust quickly clapped his hands. I agree with my dear. Macedon cursed his grandson for being so useless. However, he did not dare to refute Isabella. It was obvious that fat girl had the upper hand over these people. My dear Bella, don't you think talking about the war will make you hungry? Solon grinned, which was rare for him. That's you, old man. Isabella rolled her eyes. As she spoke, she picked up a plate of yellow and white dishes and placed it in front of Gua Xiuhua and Mother Wong. Madams, you could try this. This is called bacalhau brass. It's a Portuguese food. The main ingredient is codfish, fried with eggs and vegetables. It should suit the taste of Easterners, Isabella said with a smile. Gua Xiuhua and Mother Wong looked at each other. They really felt that the food here was not to their liking. Although the ingredients were excellent seafood, they really could not resist eating seafood in big mouthfuls. After receiving it with a smile, they thanked Isabella briefly. After all, they did not know much English. Isabella was excited and began to explain the names and ingredients of various dishes to Lin Ruoshi, leaving the men at the table aside. Just like that, the meal was quite lively. When it was over, Ron gestured to Lin Ruoshi and went to the studio he set up next door. Yang Chung was also very curious and wanted to follow them, but he was stopped by Gua Xiuhua. Silly child, you can't look at the wedding dress now. Wait until the wedding tomorrow, then it will be meaningful, Gua Xiuhua lectured. Yang Chung felt that it might be better to add more mystery, so he endured the itch in his heart and sat in Ron's house, drinking black tea and watching TV. Under Isabella's invitation, Gua Xiuhua and Mother Wong took a young man on the island who could translate Chinese to visit the surrounding environment. For them, since this was Yang Cheng's, it was also their own. Of course, they had to understand it well. When the house was quiet, only Yang Chung, Macedon, and Soren were left. Drinking the British Royal black tea, Yang Chung suddenly thought of something and asked, By the way, where are Edward and the others? Soren said, Edward went to pick up Catherine and Jane. They should be here tonight. These days, the London Olympics are still at a critical juncture. Catherine needs to attend a lot of occasions, so she is busy, so she can only come later. After the wedding, she has to rush back to attend the closing ceremony of the Olympics, Macedon explained. Only then did Yang Chung remember that he did not pay attention to the Olympics. Your Majesty Pluto, are you not going to go see her? Soren hesitated and said, After all, you're going to get married tomorrow. Yang Cheng's hand trembled slightly, and a complicated thought flashed in his eyes. His face was a little gloomy. Yes, I have to go. Yang Cheng nodded. Hey, red-haired eagle, why did you mention that? I was happy, Make Dawn said unhappily. I'm just reminding you out of goodwill. I think your Majesty Pluto will think of going too. Soren glanced at him disdainfully. Yang Cheng told the two of them not to make a fuss and said with a smile, This is indeed what I should do. After I left here more than 2 years ago, I haven't come back to see her. She might be in another world and hates me. Now that I'm going to get married here, if I don't tell her, I won't be able to rest easy. Very well, let me bury the past today and officially welcome a new life. While the three men were chatting about a rather sad topic, in a small red room next door, it was a different scene. This was Ron's usual workshop, and its purpose was naturally to design and display all of his works. The entire workshop was surrounded by luxurious bohemian women's dresses, and the rich and luxurious atmosphere assaulted one's nostrils. At this moment, Ron was standing outside the fitting room, looking nervously and expectantly at the coffee-colored curtain that was covering it. His two female assistants were helping Lin Ruoshi put on the wedding dress that had been designed. After more than 10 minutes, the two assistants finally walked out and slowly pulled open the curtain. Hiss! When Ron saw the woman who walked out of the fitting room, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Then he swallowed his saliva and drew a cross in front of him, as if he was grateful for God's kindness. Ron, who could not move his gaze away, exclaimed in admiration, Miss Lin, you will be the most beautiful bride I have seen in most of my life. Of course, it is also thanks to the wedding dress I designed. Lin Ruoshi looked at herself in the mirror, her small hands holding the hem of her skirt, and she also looked a little incredulous. It was as if wearing this wedding dress would make her entire temperament and behavior sublimate from beginning to end. Thank you, Mr. Ron. Lin Ruoshi smiled and asked, Does this wedding dress have a name? Well, good question. Ron smiled and said, I named this wedding dress Demeter. Demeter. Lin Ruoshi wondered. It sounds familiar. Is this a person's name? No. This is your mother. Ron smiled kindly and said, Madame Persephone's mother in mythology is Demeter, the goddess of fertility. I named the wedding dress after Demeter, meaning that this wedding dress will protect you like a mother and lead you to the marriage hall. Lin Ruoshi then came to a realization. She recited it a few times and happily accepted it. At this time, Ron circled around the woman twice and praised. Now that you look at it, it really looks similar, especially in terms of temperament. After wearing the wedding dress, it is exactly the same. Although Ron said it softly, Lin Ruoshi could still hear it. The happy woman couldn't help but ask, What looks similar? Ron was stunned and said awkwardly, Miss Lin, you should also know that the only woman who has always accompanied His Majesty Pluto in the past is Miss 17. Previously, Sauron, Jane, and Catherine all said that you and Miss 17 are often very similar in temperament and demeanor. Now it seems that I have to agree with them. Hearing this, Lin Ruoshi couldn't help but look gloomy, and she smiled unnaturally and said, Is that so? Unfortunately, I haven't seen her. Chapter 962. Ron quickly waved his hand and said, Miss Lin, don't think that His Majesty Pluto did so much for you because you look like Miss 17. Although I don't know him very well, I know that he is not a man who would do so much for a woman who looks like him. I can see that in his eyes. You are yourself and not some substitute. Perhaps a female companion could be substituted, but a wife is definitely not. Lin Ruoshi's gloomy expression turned bright, and she smiled faintly. At this moment, someone knocked on the door of the studio. One of Ron's assistants walked over and opened the door. He nodded at the person outside and turned around, saying, Sir, Miss Lin, His Majesty Pluto sent someone to inform you that he wants to ask if Miss Lin has finished the fitting. He is going out for a while and wants to talk to Miss Lin face to face. Lin Ruoshi was slightly puzzled, but Ron seemed to understand and said, Miss Lin, let's go out. Don't let His Majesty Pluto wait for too long. Help Miss Lin take off her wedding dress and put it on tomorrow. The wedding dress had to be put on and taken off carefully, for fear of any damage, which took a lot of time. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, Lin Ruoshi and Ron returned to the room next door. Yang Cheng was watching the Olympic swimming competition with Sauron. Seeing Lin Ruoshi coming back, he smiled and stood up. How is it? Is the bride satisfied with the wedding dress? Lin Ruoshi looked at the man and thought of what Ron had just said. She was slightly lost in thought at first. Then she pursed her lips and nodded. Well, Master Ron's design is still very amazing. Hee, you flatter me. Ron nodded. Yang Cheng breathed a sigh of relief, hesitated for a moment, and said sincerely, I'm going to a mountain in the southwest to see 17. So I wanted to tell you. 17? Lin Ruoshi's mind went blank, and her delicate body trembled slightly. She clenched her hands tightly and asked in a suppressed voice, What do you mean? Yang Cheng tried to be relaxed. It's 17's cenotaph. When she left, I couldn't find her. Well, when I built her tomb, I could only put her belongings inside. I haven't visited her for more than 2 years. Just take it as a farewell to the past. I think I should go. Lin Ruoshi's eyes were a little watery, but after thinking for a moment, she faintly smiled and said, Of course I should go, but I have a request. What? I want to go too. Yang Cheng was stunned for a long time. He took a deep breath and nodded. Okay. The wind above was fresh, bringing with it a warm air current. As it passed through her hair and clothes, she felt very comfortable. Yang Cheng drove a fiery red dune buggy with Lin Ruoshi on it. They passed through a small path in the dense jungle, and after a full 10 minutes, they finally arrived at the bottom of a cliff in the southwest. Looking up from the bottom of the mountain, the entire cliff extended up to a large graveyard. The gray and white intertwined, and a winding path climbed up the cliff steeply. The flat turf and the neatly trimmed plants made it obvious that someone had been taking care of the graveyard here on a daily basis. This is the burial place of some of my old subordinates after they died in battle. The more outstanding the merit, the higher the burial place. However, even if they can be buried here, it's still an affirmation of their lifetime's military achievements. You must think that these guys are funny. Before they died, some of them even asked me if they had killed enough people and if the weapons they blew up were important enough. They had actually regarded being buried here as the goal of their lives. Some of them were still so young. How could they be so stupid? Yang Cheng explained to Lin Ruoshi. His tone was a little sad, and his eyes were a little red. There were countless memories and deep emotions mixed in, which moved Lin Ruoshi. When she first met this man, she noticed that his eyes would reveal incomparable vicissitudes of emotion. Later on, as the two of them became familiar with each other and lived together for a long time, they didn't care too much about it. But at this moment, seeing the tombstones all over the mountain and facing the man's eyes again, Lin Ruoshi only felt that she really wanted to hug him like a child and caress his hair. After the car stopped at the foot of the mountain, the two of them began to walk up the path. The mountain wall was a little steep, and it was quite difficult for Lin Ruoshi to walk. Especially some stones, after being exposed to the wind and rain, had become smooth. Lin Ruoshi's shoes slipped, and she almost lost her footing. Yang Cheng, who was walking in front, quickly reached out and grabbed the woman's hand. Be careful, I'll pull you along. Lin Ruoshi gasped for breath. Seeing that her hand was being held, she quickly shook it off with all her might. Yang Cheng was stunned and said in astonishment, Ruoshi, what's wrong? I just want you to fall if you walk like this. Don't touch me. Lin Ruoshi said coldly. I'll be careful, but you're not allowed to pull me or touch me. Yang Cheng felt helpless. Although the woman wanted to come over to see him, she was still very dissatisfied with him in her heart, which was why she didn't want him to touch her. However, this couldn't dispel the idea of coming to see 17, because this was one of the few things in his heart that he insisted on. He couldn't ignore the people who had accompanied him for the past 10 years. The mountain breeze caused Lin Ruoshi's skirt to flutter. Her hair gently caressed her cheeks as she faced the gradually fading afternoon sun. After a period of training, Lin Ruoshi's physical fitness had also greatly improved. When she reached the top of the mountain, The woman didn't seem to be too tired, but her face was flushed red. On the top of the green, grassy mountain, there was only one tombstone, and the surroundings seemed very flat and empty. Obviously, the owner of this tombstone had an absolutely transcendent status. This was a piece of black marble, firmly embedded in the mountain rock. On the marble, only ancient Roman numerals were engraved. 30. This is her tombstone? Although Lin Ruoshi was sure, she still asked. N. Yang Chung nodded, his expression a little blank. He stood in front of the tombstone, hesitated for a moment, and then slowly sat down. 30? You mean 13 and 17? Lin Ruoshi still remembered that Yang Cheng's previous code name was 13. Yang Cheng nodded and didn't deny it. That means 13 and 17 added together. Lin Ruoshi's voice trembled a little. Yang Cheng didn't dare to turn his head to look at the woman's expression. He silently nodded and said, I carved this for her, using my fingers, but it's a pity. I carved all the stones, and my hand didn't bleed at all. Otherwise, the red words might look better. Facing Yang Cheng's cold joke, Lin Ruoshi's body tensed up, and she asked, Do you need me to leave for a while? I think you have a lot to say to her. Whatever. Yang Cheng turned his head and chuckled. It's not something to be shy about. If you want to listen, then listen. Of course, it's also up to you whether you want to listen or not. Lin Ruoshi didn't say anything else. She silently stood behind him and stared at the number on the black marble. Yang Cheng stretched out his hand and gently stroked the tombstone, as if he didn't dare to disturb the sleeping woman, but he was incomparably affectionate. It's been more than 2 years since I came to see you. Would it be lonely to be alone? I know, right now you must want to stab me in the neck with a dagger. Yang Cheng laughed self-deprecatingly. Of course, the tombstone wouldn't answer. It was just that the wind and grass on the tombstone made this conversation seem especially lonely. I went back to Huaxia. You said that we should go and see what the country we were originally from was like, so I went back. It's really different from other countries. I set up a stall in the market to sell mutton skewers, and I even rented a dilapidated house that was about to collapse. Although it looked a little shabby, it was much better than the damn place where we trained in Siberia when we were young. I also met a lot of people. They didn't know how to hold a gun, they didn't know how to kill people, and they did things that we didn't understand at all before. All right, I also joined a company to work, but you must have guessed that there are a lot of beautiful colleagues in that company. Don't look down on me. Who told you to indulge me so much in the past? It's become a habit. I really can't change my ways. In more than 2 years, I've encountered a lot of things. I don't even know how to tell you everything in a short period of time, but you don't like to talk much, so I think you won't be interested in listening. Yang Cheng looked at Lin Ruoshi behind him and said with a faint smile, You probably want to know who she is, right? Hee, don't pretend that you don't care about anything. Her name is Lin Ruoshi, and she's the female lead of my wedding tomorrow. We've been married for more than a year, so before the wedding, I brought her to see you. Chapter 963. Yang Cheng spoke in a voice that was neither loud nor soft. Every word was clearly audible, and every word touched people's hearts. Lin Ruoshi naturally nodded at the tombstone when he introduced himself to 17. Yang Cheng turned his head and continued to look at the tombstone. He laughed self-deprecatingly and said, Don't laugh at me. Speaking of which, you were the one who added fuel to the fire from the beginning for me and her to get to this day with her. This woman foolishly said that she wanted to jump off a building to force me to marry her. It's not like you don't know that I'm one of the few people in the world who would stand by and watch someone die. If it wasn't for this woman's eyes and temperament, which were very similar to yours, I would have turned around and left at that time. I wouldn't care if she died or not. We took many detours, each did many wrong things, and also experienced laughter and pain. Sometimes, I also thought that you were deliberately joking with me. You irresponsibly left first and sent a woman who was very similar to you to my side, as if you were fooling a child. But later, I realized that Lin Ruoshi wasn't you. I had long regarded her as an independent, my wife. In order to sort out this matter, we even quarreled in the process. At this point, Yang Chung turned his head and smiled at Lin Ruoshi. Lin Ruoshi also looked down at the man with a faint smile. Yang Chung sighed and slowly stood up. He patted the dust off his pants. 17. I should say these words in front of you. I think you would also hope that I would make such a choice. Although I will always feel deeply guilty towards you. In order to be fair to my current wife, I must bury you in my heart forever. I can't let you out anymore, because I will spend the rest of my life with the woman by my side now. Facing the tombstone, Yang Chung finished speaking with a serious expression. Lin Ruoshi's eyes were a little red. She raised her head and took a deep breath with tears in her eyes before she managed to control her emotions. Yang Chung turned around and asked, "Are we going down?" Lin Ruoshi shook her head. "Can I talk to her?" Yang Chung smiled and nodded. "Of course. I've already said what I wanted to say." "Thank you." Lin Ruoshi took a step forward, and Yang Chung tactfully took a few steps back, watching quietly from behind. The woman faced the marble tombstone and silently stared at it for a long time before bowing slightly. "Hello, I'm Lin Ruoshi. Although it's my first time here, and I'm a little presumptuous, I still have to say, I love the man who was once the most important person to you. You knew him first and loved him first. I can't argue with you. So, I also know that you will always be in this man's heart. There was a period of time when I was jealous of you, who occupied his heart. I felt that I was your substitute, but my pride wouldn't allow it. However, there would be no such jealousy now. Because you saved this man. You were the one who made him turn back and let him return to that country. Then, I met this man who survived and fell in love with him. I wanted to be like an ordinary girl in her 20s, yearning for a beautiful love and cherishing marriage. The memory of you being sealed made him feel sorry, so this man wandered around for a long time before Shan Shan came here late. He might have felt that a woman like me was too pitiful, so one day he suddenly said that he wanted to catch me and ask if he could like me. He really isn't much. He has a lot of shortcomings, and it's hard to even find a few good points, but I just can't refuse. Perhaps this is what people say. True love is that there is no reason. All right, in short, today, I want to make an agreement with this man, with you, who saved this man." As she spoke softly, Lin Ruoshi turned around and looked at Yang Chung affectionately. Yang Chung bit his lower lip. The woman's words made it impossible for him to remain calm. Lin Ruoshi didn't feel anything and continued to smile at the tombstone. "Miss 17, I promise you, when I leave this world, in another world, I will let this man return to your side. But when I'm alive, I've decided to keep him by my side. And now, in front of you on the top of the mountain, at the foot of the mountain, I won't let this man touch my body. Not at all, this is the only thing I can do for you now." "Ruoshi," Yang Chung called out in a trembling voice. He finally understood why the woman didn't let him hold her hand or touch her. His heart throbbed, and Yang Chung couldn't help but choke with sobs. Lin Ruoshi didn't seem to hear him. After wiping the corners of her eyes, she smiled at the tombstone and said, "By the way, I forgot to tell you, I won't let him forget you. I will let him come to see you whenever he wants. But I won't come here again. I will only accompany him to the foot of the mountain. And when the sun sets, I will silently wait for him to go down the mountain and return to my side." The mountain breeze blew, and the woman's words seemed to be floating in the wind. After saying this, Lin Ruoshi bowed slightly to the tombstone again, then turned around and said to Yang Chung, "Let's go, we can go down the mountain now." Yang Chung let out a deep breath and nodded. Just as he was about to reach out to hold the woman's hand, he thought of Lin Ruoshi's words and stiffly withdrew his hand. Lin Ruoshi turned a blind eye to it and began to slowly walk down the mountain. At the foot of the cliff, the waves were surging. The sun was setting in the west, and the sunset glow was intoxicating the mountains. When they reached the foot of the mountain, the two of them continued to walk in silence for a while. Just as they were about to arrive at the place where the mountain bike was parked, Yang Chung suddenly shouted, "Darling!" He turned around and picked up Lin Ruoshi from the ground with both hands. Lin Ruoshi exclaimed. She was startled by the sudden princess hug. Yang Chung hugged the woman and spun her around a dozen times. He almost made the poor bride faint before putting her down. Without waiting for Lin Ruoshi to speak, he kissed her lips 3 times and even stuck his saliva on them. Pa pa pa. Lin Ruashi wiped her mouth and said angrily, "It's all the fishy smell from lunch. Are you crazy?" Yang Chung laughed out loud. "It's mainly because you're too cute." "Aya, how can my wife be so cute? Did you major in how to be a cute woman in college? What nonsense are you talking about? You were fine just now. Why are you so improper now?" Lin Ruashi looked at the man with a headache. Yang Chung blinked. "What? Do you think there's a big difference? What do you think?" Lin Ruashi rolled her eyes at him and said angrily, "I thought you were serious just now. Why did you suddenly become like this? Also, since you're so affectionate, why do you still maintain a relationship with those women? Don't you feel sorry for me? Tell me the truth. The words said in front of the tombstone are all lies, right? How is that possible? I also have times when I'm serious." Yang Chung smiled at Shan Shan and said, "Besides, isn't this an old question? Of course I feel sorry for you. But I can't let them down either." Yang Chung grinned and said, "They don't have any status, but they're all willing to follow me. They've even done so much for me. It's not like they don't want anyone and can only choose me. Besides, I can't lie to my own heart. I do like them too. It doesn't matter if you call me a playboy or a shameless. There are some things that can't be thought of too rationally because it's an emotional thing to begin with. But as I said just now, fate has made you and I become a couple. So you just need to enjoy tomorrow's wedding and the rest of your life. Even if you want to throw a tantrum with me for the sake of other girls, you should at least wait until the wedding is over. But let me say it first, you can hit me and scold me, but you can't divorce me or anything like that, because remarriage is too expensive." Lin Ruashi was so angry that her teeth itched. She glared at the man and said, "No wonder they didn't come to the wedding. I'm afraid they didn't want to be angered to death by you." Yang Chung said indifferently, "Anyway, that's what I meant." All right, let's go back to Ron's place first. It's getting dark. After dinner, you, Mom, and Mother Wong should all have a good rest. I'll go confirm all the steps for tomorrow. I'll let them arrange the rooms to sleep in tonight. As for the wedding room that I specially ordered someone to renovate, I'll show it to you after the wedding tomorrow." "There's even a wedding room? Silly girl, aren't you spouting nonsense?" "Ew, you're the fool." Everything was settled just like that. Yang Chung pushed the woman back to the mountain bike without any explanation and leisurely returned. Chapter 964. Early the next morning, there were many more white clouds in the sky. The sun penetrated the clouds and shone on the Ionian Sea. Seabirds spread their wings and soared over the bay where the white tide rolled. In the middle of the sea was a large flat area with green grass. Usually, there would be indigenous people playing traditional boomerangs here, and there would also be foreign residents playing football and throwing frisbees. It was used as a sports ground for people. But today, this spacious grassland was blooming with flowers. Colorful tropical flowers were meticulously decorated on the entire grassland, clustered together to form all kinds of joyful and beautiful totems. Among them, a long passage paved with white lilies on both sides led directly to a high platform in the center. On the high platform, modern electronic equipment had been installed. All kinds of microphones and speakers had been decorated with many flower decorations. The people coming and going were indigenous people and gray residents. But because they lived together all year round, there was no distinction between them. All the families were familiar with each other. Everyone was talking and laughing, busy moving the vine tables and chairs, placing the flower baskets, and carrying the fine wine from other places to enjoy later at the wedding banquet. A white woman with long amber hair, wearing a simple pink tunic, stood in the middle of the venue. She was meticulously using various languages, holding a microphone, and directing everyone present to place all the items in the appropriate position. She was also in charge of the entire wedding banquet's design and layout. This person was naturally Jane, who came to the banquet last night. "Move those tables away. Don't be too close. It will be crowded if there are too many people. Don't break those flowers over there. Please arrange them properly at the northernmost side. Bring more high-alcohol coconut milk wine. Don't just bring fruit wine. Some people don't drink fruit wine." Only Jane could control the overall situation, grasp the aesthetics, and be proficient in all kinds of languages. Therefore, everyone admired her and obeyed her. Beside Jane was a well-endowed noblewoman in a red gown. She was playfully teasing a house-raised guinea pig that came out of nowhere. Guinea pigs were also known as Dutch pigs. Many people raised them because they were chubby and adorable. Children loved to play with these small animals. But at this moment, the noblewoman was poking the guinea pig's big belly with her finger and talking to it with childish innocence. "Little fatty, why is your stomach so round? What did you eat this morning?" "What? Didn't you eat? So you inherited it, just like Catherine's breasts and butt. My Jane dragged me here early in the morning. She doesn't know anything about wedding decorations. She's only been married once in her life, and it was a royal wedding. She doesn't need me to design it. Sigh, but I have to listen to little Jian. Even if I don't have time for breakfast, I still have to come over. Otherwise, little Jian will be angry at me again. Last time, because I introduced a man to little Jian almost didn't recognize me as her mother anymore. Little fatty, don't you think Catherine is very pitiful?" No matter how much Jane wanted to pretend that she didn't hear it, the words of Her Majesty the Queen beside her almost made her go berserk. "Catherine, if you want to eat, go eat by yourself. You clearly wanted to come with me. Don't just stand there and mumble." Jane put down the microphone, wiped the fine beads of sweat on her forehead, and scolded angrily. The guinea pig that was lying on the ground was startled, and it rolled over in an instant. Catherine quickly stood up and smiled shyly. "How can I do that? My little Jian hasn't eaten yet." "Of course, Catherine can't eat. How many times have I said it? Don't call me that name." Jane was going crazy. She wasn't afraid of anything logical, but she couldn't stand a woman like her mother who was completely illogical. Catherine pouted shyly. "But I like it. It's so intimate. Can't you see that I'm very busy?" Jane said helplessly, "I'm begging you. I'll call you mother, okay? Go find Cousin Edward now and let him play with you. Don't bother me." Catherine pouted. "What? It's obviously a wedding between the man you like and another woman. Why is little Jian spending so much effort to decorate it?" Jane was stunned. She then realized that her mother felt indignant on her behalf. A warm feeling welled up in her heart. Jane felt helpless. This woman was always walking between rationality and insanity. You would never know what she was thinking. No matter how smart she didn't really understand her mother since she was young. "That man is Yangcheng." Jane smiled bitterly. "The man who gave us everything. How could he be the same? Moreover, he personally came over last night and asked me to decorate it. How can I reject him?" Catherine suddenly walked up and held her daughter's face. She lowered her head and kissed her forehead. "Baby, do you want Mommy to seduce Yangcheng when he's in the bridal room?" Jane couldn't help but roll her eyes. Her Majesty the Queen was acting weird again. She reached out and pinched Catherine's plump chest. "Go away. Go change into something more conservative. Although Miss Lin isn't inferior to you, she doesn't have a guest who steals the limelight like you. Little Jian, just say it if you want to drink Mommy's milk. Why do you have to pinch me? I was wondering why I was full after drinking so little when I was young. Turns out I didn't drink enough. Shut up. Go away." Jane was so angry that she was about to cry. All right. I'll go. Catherine tugged at her low-cut collar and blew a kiss. Then, she skipped to find her maid to change her clothes. Seeing that the troublesome mother finally left, Jane tapped her temples. She picked up the microphone and continued to direct the operation of the venue. More than an hour later, when it was almost noon, the entire venue was finally decorated according to the layout of a royal wedding. The wedding venue was filled with a graceful and luxurious atmosphere without losing its natural style. If one were to look down from the sky, it would definitely be a beautiful scene. Then, as the master of ceremonies, Ron stood on the high platform and began to announce the official start of the wedding. Since it was Yang Chen's wedding, the true owner of this land and the protector of this pure land, all of the 2,000 people on the island were present, except for the guards who had to patrol the area. For a moment, the entire venue was bustling with noise. Sitting at the front of the red carpet surrounded by lilies were Guishuahua, Sauron, Maekdon, and a group of people who were closest to Yangcheng. Catherine changed into an elegant pink dress. It seemed to be matching her daughter's mother-daughter attire, and it was wrapped tightly. Behind Sauron and Makedon sat the representatives of all the important organizations, such as Zero and Sea Eagles. Behind Edward sat the representatives of the financial oligarchs and important nobles who had pledged allegiance to Yangcheng. Originally, these people were either filled with valiant killing intent or arrogant and despotic. But now, they were sitting in the wedding hall with a serious expression on their faces. This was because the owner of the wedding was the reason why they could maintain their arrogance in the outside world. Seeing that the venue was full of people sitting and standing, Ron nodded in satisfaction and said to the microphone, "Now, everyone, please pay attention. According to His Majesty Pluto's request, he will host this wedding himself on the stage." After that, Ron took the lead to applaud and slowly walked off the stage. Everyone present was a little puzzled. What did this mean? Hosted himself? What was even more puzzling was that Yangcheng's people didn't come out of nowhere. Someone shouted, "Look up!" With this shout, all the residents attending the wedding raised their heads. This glance caused everyone present to be dumbfounded, and their expressions were rather interesting. They saw Yangcheng, who was wearing a well-ironed suit and a red bow tie, combed his hair for once, looking energetic and smiling brightly, actually descended from the sky. However, he was not parachuting, nor was he falling from a great height. There was a red string tied around Yangcheng's waist, and on the red string was a huge hydrogen balloon in the shape of a heart and the word love. However, because the balloon's levitation force was designed to be less than the gravity of the human body, Yangcheng was able to land lightly on the stage. What was even more shocking was that Yangcheng even waved his hands at the audience in all directions, full of pride. This really looked silly, and they didn't know whether to laugh or cry, which made the audience present dumbfounded. Seeing this scene, Catherine quietly said to Jane next to her, "Little Jane, Mom is so glad that the one who married this weird man is not you." Jane didn't refute this time because she was also sympathizing with the bride, Lin Ruashi. Guo Shihuahua touched her face and silently said, "Pretend I didn't see it. Pretend I didn't see it." Yangcheng saw the reactions of these people below the stage, and all of them took it as praise for him. After untying the love balloon from his waist, Yangcheng landed lightly on the stage, looked at the wedding guests, and walked to the microphone. In the first sentence of the opening, Yangcheng even cleared his throat and said, "First of all, I want to thank everyone for their support. I can understand everyone's eyes. I know that everyone is impressed by my wonderful idea and the great way I made my entrance." The audience suddenly fell silent. Chapter 965. Guo Shihuahua, who was sitting in the front row, clenched her floral dress tightly. Today was her son's wedding, and she had specially dressed up to look happy. But at this time, her dignified face was covered in cold sweat. What was this brat trying to do? Guo Shihuahua was about to roll her eyes. However, Yangcheng, who was standing on a high platform, was completely unaware of it. He had a smile on his face and was very pleased with himself. Many people must find it strange. How can the groom be the host of the wedding? This question is also bothering me. Yangcheng paused for a moment, then shook his head helplessly. Logically speaking, the person who presides over the wedding should announce all the procedures. But in that case, wouldn't it be like that I have to listen to a witness to command me to get married? It's not that I can't listen to other people's commands, but this host is very difficult to choose. The people who can command me are my mother and my wife, but it's not convenient for them to do so, so I can only do it myself. Hearing this reason, everyone present was once again speechless. Ron chuckled and said to Guo Shihuahua, "Madam, His Majesty Pluto is really humorous." Guo Shihuahua glanced at the old man. "Where did you see that?" Ron still chuckled and did not answer. "There's one more thing." Yangcheng raised his voice into the microphone. "Everyone might have noticed that we don't have a witness today." Everyone looked left and right. Indeed, they had not noticed before. Why was there not even a single witness or priest? Yangcheng snorted and said, "I've always felt that I definitely don't need this priest and witness." Whenever I see some of you getting married, you have to call a priest or an elder and stand there to announce that you're married. I feel awkward. Marriage is a matter between a man and a woman, a matter between a husband and wife. Why do you need someone else to announce that you're married before you can complete the wedding? I don't care about others, but if I get married, the only one who can prove that I'm married is me. Therefore, there is no priest today, and there is no witness. If there is, it would be me, Father Yang. Yang Chung pointed at his chest. The audience immediately burst into laughter, and Edward and the others who were sitting in front also applauded in amazement. Yang Chung grinned and gestured for everyone to be quiet. He then cleared his throat and said, "Okay, next as the groom, witness, and host, I announce the arrival of the bride." As soon as he finished speaking, the dozens of speakers set up around the wedding venue began to play the wedding march. Under the melodious melody, colorful flocks of birds fluttered and soared into the sky from all directions of the jungle. For a moment, all the guests at the scene stood up and turned to look at the end of the lily corridor. From the deepest part of the dark green forest, an eye-catching moon-white color was finally reflected in everyone's eyes. When the bride stepped onto the red carpet and gradually walked towards the center of the stage, the audience held their breath and stared fixedly at her. Each layer of the fluffy, flowery, layered dress was decorated with countless complicated handmade rose lace decorations. The moon-white chiffon and silk materials made these light pink patterns look especially gentle and pure. And the smooth and perfect curves from the corner of the dress that dragged on the ground presented a beautiful scene as if emerging from a clear pool. Like a moon-white lotus, it quietly bloomed in the green grass, frowning and graceful. The woman's waist was tied with a silk belt that was also rusty with pink flowers. The design of the top clung to the chest, making the proud golden ratio figure not exaggerated, but also a perfect performance. Lin Ruashi's black hair did not have much special decoration, just a simple bun, but it was precisely this simple makeup that complemented the wedding dress. At this moment, everyone only felt that this wedding dress and this woman had completely frozen everything around them. The elegant and refined temperament, set off by the whole wedding dress of peerless craftsmanship, was enough to make people suffocate. Lin Ruashi nervously pursed her thin lips that were slightly smeared with lip gloss, and her little heart was beating fast. In fact, before waiting for the music to start, she was still angry because of the man's nonsense. It was supposed to be a wedding, but why did it have to be so messed up? But when she walked on the lily passage leading to the high stage, she was completely in no mood to care about these things. The eyes of more than 2,000 people gathered on her body, and the pair of white and flawless arms that were exposed to the air even felt a little cold. Fortunately, there was Mother Wong beside Lin Ruashi. As the bride's family, Mother Wong held Lin Ruashi's hand that was wearing a rose-patterned lace glove and walked beside her with excitement and happiness. This was also what Yang Chung had promised before, to let her personally participate in this wedding. For the current Lin Ruashi, she could hear her own rapid breathing and the beating of her heart. Every step she took was filled with too much bitterness and sweetness and mixed feelings. Not far away, the man standing there waiting for her. They had clearly lived together for almost 2 years, but why was it that at this moment, they seemed so unfamiliar, yet so intimate? Scenes of meeting and knowing each other appeared in front of her eyes and in her mind, like a dream or fantasy. The music, cheers, the chirping of the birds, and even the sound of the wind in her ears. Lin Ruashi couldn't hear anything. There was only infinite happiness. At this sacred and solemn moment, when everyone was incomparably praising, someone began to frown. Hey. Standing in front of the microphone, Yang Chung, after staring at his bride for a while, felt that something was wrong. What are you guys doing? Especially some of you guys. Why are you staring at my wife so hard? Your eyeballs are about to fall out. Don't look like that. This shout directly pulled the atmosphere of the scene to another rhythm. When the people in the front row heard Yang Cheng's words, a few of them directly collapsed in their seats. Lin Ruashi also pulled back from her thoughts and stared at the man on the stage. She gritted her teeth and wanted to run over and kick him. What kind of thinking was this? However, Yang Chung continued to shout very seriously. Everyone, pay attention. Don't stare at my woman so hard. Do you think you can look at my woman like that? Who dares to stare at my baby for more than 10 seconds, especially a man? I'll immediately grab him and throw him into the sea. When Yang Chung shouted like this, the men present immediately turned around obediently, not daring to take another look. One must know that to them, Yang Cheng's words were the golden rule. Guo Xiuhua, who was in front, touched her forehead helplessly. She hated herself for being happy too early. It turned out that this silly son had not finished his madness. Ron said with a smile, Madam, don't you think that His Majesty Pluto and Miss Lin are very loving? Guo Xiuhua glanced at him again. You saw through it again? Ron was still chuckling. Mother Wang, who was beside Lin Ruoxi, pinched Lin Ruoxi's little hand that was trembling in anger and couldn't help but laugh. Miss, don't be angry. Isn't son-in-law like this? Sometimes he is a little stingy, but that's because he loves you. Mother Wang, I want to turn around and leave now, Lin Ruoxi said with a pout. That won't do. Mother Wang knew that she said it casually and said with a smile, Didn't you say that you were still waiting for son-in-law's gift? No matter what, you have to take a look. Lin Ruoxi snorted, but this time she did speed up her steps to prevent any strange problems from happening. Soon, when Lin Ruoxi walked to the high platform, Mother Wang placed the woman's hand in Yang Cheng's palm and returned to the seat that was arranged below. When the bride and groom turned around to face the audience, there was a burst of enthusiastic cheers. Yang Cheng proudly winked at Lin Ruoxi, but Lin Ruoxi was a little shy, and her pretty face was pink. When he felt that the cheers had lasted long enough, Yang Chun held Lin Ruoxi's hand and walked in front of the microphone. He announced, Next, it's time to send the token of love. I've spent a lot of effort to prepare what I'm going to give you. In order to let everyone feast their eyes, I will allow the camera to show the gift to everyone. Everyone, pay attention to the big screen around you. Chapter 966. Yang Cheng's words not only aroused the interest of all the guests, but also made Lin Ruoxi's eyes blink again. Originally, under the contrast of this peerless wedding dress, the woman was already beautiful to the point of being out of this world. At this moment, this pair of eyelashes blinked as she stared at Yang Cheng. A pair of watery eyes that seemed to be able to speak made Yang Cheng swallow his saliva. He almost pounced on her and kissed her a few times before saying anything else. However, Yang Cheng still felt that he had to leave the most important step for the bridal chamber, so he gritted his teeth and endured it. After letting go of Lin Ruoxi's hand, Yang Cheng walked to the center of the platform and hooked his pinky towards the forest in the distance. Under everyone's curious gaze, there was a small black dot gradually approaching from the top of the forest in the distance. As the small black dot enlarged, everyone finally saw what it was. It was a remote control plane. The entire body of the plane was painted pink with festive flowers, and below the plane, there was a flower basket decorated with fresh wildflowers. It seemed that the gift was hidden in the flower basket. This kid, he really had a lot of tricks, Guo Xiuhua scolded jokingly. Mother Wang smiled emotionally. Miss looks like she's looking forward to it. I hope it's a gift she likes. It's been prepared for so long, it's impossible that she won't like it, Guo Xiuhua said. Kathleen, on the other hand, squeezed her daughter beside her and said with a smile, Little Jane, that plane was also designed by you for Yang Cheng, right? It can fly in a straight line from such a distance of a few hundred meters to the platform. Only you can do it in such a short time. Jane rolled her eyes at her mother. It's not that difficult. Many people can do it. I just happened to be free, so I helped him to the end. After saying that, Jane couldn't help but cover up her yawn elegantly. Obviously, in order to complete some of Yang Cheng's requests, she didn't sleep much the night before. Kathleen couldn't help but pout. What an enemy. It's not your own wedding, but you're tired first. Jane pretended not to hear and continued to smile. At the same time, the remote control plane that flew over from afar landed in Yang Cheng's hands. After taking down the flower basket, Yang Cheng took out an exquisite gift box made of mahogany. The big screens around the venue began to track the gift box. Everyone was looking forward to seeing what special gift was inside. Lin Ruoxi was particularly embarrassed. The Patek Philippe pocket watch that Yang Cheng gave her before was already a priceless treasure. Although she was not short of money, women always liked precious gifts from men. Moreover, Yang Cheng had spent more than half a year to prepare it. How could it be an ordinary treasure? It's inside. Lin Ruoxi looked at the gift box and asked softly. Yang Cheng nodded, raised his eyebrows, and said with a smile, "Open it yourself." Lin Ruoxi took a deep breath, stepped forward, and carefully opened the platinum button. When the wooden box was opened, a mellow fragrance of glutinous rice wafted out. Lin Ruoxi's expression changed from anticipation to confusion to shock, and finally to a cold glint in her eyes. Her killing intent was revealed. Slowly raising her head, the woman pointed to the box. On a clean white cotton cloth, there was a round, glutinous rice ball the size of a human palm. What was worse was that there was a clumsy, smiley face drawn with bean paste on the surface of the rice ball. You said that the gift you prepared for me is this glutinous rice ball? Lin Ruoxi almost raised her legs, and her high heels were nailed to the man's body. Yang Cheng said with a silly smile, "I secretly made this myself last night. Look at the smiley face, it's so charming. What's more, don't you like glutinous rice balls the most? You've always bought them. I personally made the one and only glutinous rice ball in the world. Aren't you satisfied?" Lin Ruoxi looked at Yang Cheng's serious expression and felt extremely disappointed, but she didn't know what to say. Looking at the glutinous rice ball lying quietly in the box, she was about to cry. All the guests looked at each other, completely dumbfounded. This lord's wedding gift to the bride was actually a glutinous rice ball? Isn't this too ridiculous? Guo Shuahua's face also turned green and white. Mother One didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She reached out and patted her thigh, telling her not to get agitated. On the high platform, Lin Ruoxi, who was in a daze for a while, suddenly laughed at herself. That's true. Perhaps there really isn't a more suitable gift than this. Lin Ruoxi reached out to take the wooden box and pouted. Anyway, I can buy whatever I want with money. On the other hand, this glutinous rice ball is really the only one in the world. Do you really think so? Yang Cheng asked with a mysterious smile. Lin Ruoxi lowered her head, her eyes a little red. Although I'm a little disappointed, it's still an unforgettable gift, an unforgettable wedding. Then why are you still crying, wife? Yang Cheng reached out and gently pinched Lin Ruoxi's face. Lin Ruoxi finally couldn't help but raise her head and stare at him angrily. Who told you to give me so much hope? You should have made me a glutinous rice ball. Why did you have to wait so long to hold the wedding? Can't you just do it in Zhonghai? The entire audience was in an uproar. Why did the two of them seem to be quarreling on the stage? Yang Cheng pressed his hand down, causing the entire audience to quieten down. Then he smiled and said, "Are you angry?" "Yes, I'm angry." Lin Ruoxi didn't hide it at all. "Then should I continue giving my gift?" Yang Cheng had a hesitant look on his face. When Lin Ruoxi heard this, she was a little puzzled and mumbled, "What?" "Continue sending it." Yang Cheng helplessly spread out his hands and said, "The glutinous rice ball in your hand is part of the gift I wanted to give you. In order to show that my gift is very solemn, this is just an appetizer. But I didn't expect you to be so angry about the appetizer. Then I have to worry about whether you will be even angrier later." The moment these words came out, Lin Ruoxi wanted to pounce on him and bite him. Is it fun to play with me?" Lin Ruoxi said angrily. Yang Cheng laughed and said, "How would I dare? I just saw that you didn't seem to be very happy about the glutinous rice ball, so I was a little curious. Okay, I'm going to give you the most important gift. After a series of crazy openings and a glutinous rice ball as an appetizer, Lin Ruoxi didn't have much confidence in Yang Cheng's so-called main course gift. She was bored and said, "If you drive another plane over, you can play with yourself." Yang Cheng smiled gently. "This time definitely won't, But in order to receive this gift, I'll have to trouble my beautiful bride to extend your jade hand, palm facing up. Lin Ruashi didn't know what this guy was trying to do. She pouted her lips unwillingly and stretched out her slender arm. Her palm, which was wearing a lace glove, faced upwards. That's it. Lin Ruashi turned her head and asked Yang Chung. Yang Chung nodded. Wait a moment, it'll be fine. Lin Ruashi was confused, feeling that the man's smile was especially unfathomable. All the guests were confused, and only Ron, who was sitting at the front, had his signature mysterious smile on his face. Just as everyone was at a loss, the scene on the big screen around them was staring at Lin Ruashi's outstretched palm. After a while, some surprised voices suddenly came from the crowd. Following that, more and more people looked up at the sky and began to exclaim. At the same time, Lin Ruashi also realized something, slowly raised her head, and looked up at the sky. Rain? It was rain, but it wasn't water droplets, but petals. The sky was filled with crimson petals, like a chaotic red fragrance. When the first petal landed on Lin Ruashi's outstretched palm, Lin Ruashi finally understood why Yang Chung asked her to stretch out her hand. It was almost hard to blink. Lin Ruashi grabbed the petal and placed it in front of her eyes. It was actually a rose. It was cool and soft, as if it could break at any time. This was a real, fresh rose petal. Looking at the sky once again, Lin Ruashi was stunned. What a magnificent and unimaginable scene this was. The entire wedding venue, the entire surrounding forest, the entire sky. The rain of rose petals dyed the entire world the color of rose. The petals fell from the sky, as if it was a blessing from the heavens, and the magnificent colors were intoxicating. All the guests present were shocked by this sudden, peerless beauty. No matter if they were men or women, old or young, they couldn't resist such a beautiful dream. Gua, Xiuhua, Mother Wang, and the others were a little depressed just now, but at this moment, they were moved to tears. Nothing was more exciting than seeing a soul-stirring surprise after a great loss. At this moment, the air was filled with the fragrance of roses and the rich fragrance of love. Bathed in the rose rain, the bride seemed to have become one with the heaven and earth. Her wedding dress, which was embroidered with rose patterns, seemed to be alive and was dancing gracefully. A strong arm wrapped around the woman's shoulder and pulled her into his embrace. Lin Ruashi didn't resist at all, because she felt she had no strength left in her body. She just stared at the crimson sky in a daze. Yang Chun let out a deep breath and smiled with mixed emotions. Honey, do you like it? I've prepared this gift for you for more than half a year. It's unique in the whole world and also in history, the Rose Rain. Chapter 967. Lin Ruashi didn't know how to answer Yang Cheng's question. She didn't like it? That was impossible, unless she was crazy. Like, could this be described as simply liking someone? Lin Ruashi felt that she should do something to reward this man who had completely satisfied all women's wedding fantasies. Thus, Lin Ruashi turned around, hooked her arms around Yang Cheng's neck, and gave him a sweet kiss. This kiss was not passionate, but it was extremely delicate, warm, and affectionate. On the screen, everyone witnessed this moment of deep love and burst into enthusiastic cheers and applause. Guo Xiuhua and Mother Wang hugged each other, covering their mouths and crying. Sauron and the others stood up and applauded. Even Catherine and Jane smiled at this scene, but they couldn't help but feel a little sour. When she let go of Yang Chung, Lin Ruashi's cheeks were flushed. How did you do it? Where did these flowers come from? Lin Ruashi couldn't help but ask curiously. Yang Chung put his arm around the woman's waist and said, Today is actually a sunny day, but in order to make the weather a little cooler and to make the rain look more natural, in the early hours of the morning, I specially asked someone to use a special synthetic gas to create artificial clouds. Now, above the clouds in the surrounding sea area, there are at least 200 airships that will take turns to take off and use special petal spraying tools to evenly sprinkle rose petals that have been stored for more than half a year over the entire area. The reason why I use the airship is because it's very quiet and won't disturb us, but it's fast and can effectively spread the petals evenly. Stored for more than half a year? Lin Ruashi was surprised. Then how can a roses be kept for so long? Yang Chung smiled and said, I have to thank Jane for this. I asked her to help me to make a spray that is effective in keeping flowers from wilting and rotting for a year. With that thing, I asked Ron to collect roses from all over the world to be preserved until today. You can rest assured that the spray is harmless to the human body. Lin Ruashi's eyes lit up. How long will this rain of roses last? I told them to wait for exactly 13 hours and 14 minutes, which means that the rain will only stop at night. Before that, we will spend the entire day in the rose rain. Yang Chung joked, of course, if you don't want to eat rose petals while eating, I can also ask them to stop earlier. I don't want to. Let's keep going. Lin Ruashi silently muttered a few words and suddenly understood. You mean 13 hours, 14 minutes? And Yang Chung said happily, did you just understand? Lin Ruashi nodded and said softly, it should be very difficult to collect so many petals, right? Yang Chung sighed and said, actually, it's not difficult. It's just that it's tiring for that old man Ron to buy roses all over the world. Wife, you should know that this bunch of rose petals isn't even enough for this 1 square meter of flower rain, let alone for half a day. I heard from Ron that just buying roses cost me more than 5 billion euros, which is almost the total amount of flowers exported by the Netherlands in 2 years. Lin Ruashi's beautiful eyes widened. She was still a little astonished by the figure of 5 billion euros. Moreover, it was actually to harvest roses from all over the world for half a year. This was not something that could be done with money. Even if other rich people had the money, they wouldn't have the manpower to do this. Not only did the owners of the flower field have to give face to Yang Chung, but also the governments of the important flower exporting countries, such as the Netherlands and Thailand, had to give them their full support. Only Yang Cheng's deterrence could make them bite the bullet and give him all the roses. Suddenly, Lin Ruashi thought of something and raised her head. I remember now, back at the Yuan family, when Yuan Yi gave Tang Tang roses, everyone was still complaining. Why did the price of roses soar in half a year? And there was even a shortage of them all over the world. So, it's... Yang Chung smiled evilly and said, hee, how is it? Didn't I act very well? It's just that you're collecting roses all over the world. You're still pretending that you don't know anything. Lin Ruashi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Yang Chung hadn't told the woman that when he was in Beijing, that idiot Li Dun had bought white roses to give to Tang Xian in order to save money. It was also because of him, the culprit. Almost all the famous flowers in the world had been bought by Yang Chung at high price. The remaining roses were naturally sold at an exceptionally high price. Now you know why I've never given you a bouquet of roses properly. Yang Chung caressed the woman's face. If I want to give it to you, I want to give it to you in a grand manner, so that you will never forget it. Lin Ruashi wrinkled her nose. Congratulations, you did it. Today's glutinous rice ball and rose rain will never be forgotten. Looking at the woman's happy expression, his face became even more radiant. Yang Chen couldn't help but plant 2 kisses on her ear and forehead. Then, he said regretfully, this wedding that I prepared should be fine, but I can't invite too many guests. This is a special location, and I have to consider other people. Lin Ruashi nodded and said softly, I understand everything can't be perfect. Didn't you just say that marriage is a matter of 2 people? Today, with Mom and Mother Wong here, it's enough. Yo, you followed your husband's wishes so quickly. Didn't you almost die of anger just now? Yang Chung teased. Lin Ruashi bared her teeth. Give me some color to open the dye shop. All right, you're the witness. Hurry up and announce the start of the banquet. Yang Chung saw that the guests below the stage were all smiling as they watched the 2 of them chat on the stage. Only then did he remember that if he didn't say anything, this group of people wouldn't dare to eat or drink. Thus, he walked in front of the microphone and announced, Everyone, today we will eat from noon until night, from night until late at night. If you want to eat until tomorrow, as long as you don't have diarrhea, you can eat as much as you want. The toilet was behind the forest in each direction, and there was a temporary mobile toilet. As for the wine, today we will only use the island's fruit wine and coconut milk wine, in order to stimulate the development of the local wine industry. Also, some of the female guests, you guys better pay attention, don't get drunk, and let the men take advantage of you without knowing. If after attending my wedding, you guys get pregnant, that's not my problem. Everyone was convulsing with laughter, while Wishiwahua and the others in the front row looked embarrassed. Lin Ruashi couldn't stand this guy talking nonsense again, so she quickly poked Yang Cheng's back to stop him from talking nonsense. Only then did Yang Cheng officially announce the start of the banquet, causing a burst of cheers from the audience. This was destined to be the most joyous day in the world, and only Yang Cheng's wedding could make everyone rush back from all directions to attend. From noon until night, everyone was immersed in singing and laughing. A rain of roses covered the entire area, and everyone's body and hair were more or less messy. The warm breeze on the island swept these petals away and eventually fell into the sea. The surrounding ocean was gradually dyed crimson red. Because Lin Ruashi couldn't hold her liquor, she naturally wouldn't propose a toast to more than 2,000 people in the audience. But after drinking 2 glasses of wine symbolically, she simply sat down and chatted with Guxiuehua and Mother Wang. Because of Catherine and Jane's participation, there were also many women who came to participate in the discussion, talking about a series of Yang Cheng's past and embarrassing situations, and the cheers were endless. As the bridegroom, Yang Cheng, of course, didn't care about drinking with the people on the island. The stubborn disease in his brain had disappeared with the improvement of his cultivation, and alcohol wouldn't have any side effects. For Yang Cheng, as long as he didn't want to get drunk, he wouldn't get drunk even if he had 1,000 glasses. The party didn't stop until night fell, and the rain of roses didn't stop on time. The indigenous people on the island also sent the gifts that they had prepared beforehand. Rows of girls in flowery dresses and men in grass skirts formed a circle around the entire wedding venue, dancing the indigenous dance. The fire torches danced like countless stars falling on the island. Lin Ruashi and Yang Cheng sat together in the middle, and their bodies swayed to the original and moving song and dance. The lively scene lasted until late at night, and more people were stimulated by the alcohol and fell asleep. Naturally, it came to an end. Of course, the cleanup work of the venue did not need Yang Cheng to be in charge. After settling Guxiuehua, Mother Wang, and the others, Yang Cheng brought Lin Ruashi to the wedding room that they had agreed on. Although she should be very tired after a whole day, she was worried that the heavy wedding dress would dirty, and she didn't eat or drink much. However, because Yang Cheng channeled some heaven and earth restoration energy to help Lin Ruashi recuperate, she was not tired at all. Instead, she was full of energy. The two of them sat on a mountain bike, passed through a small forest, and crossed a white beach. Under the bright galaxy, they felt the salty breeze of the sea. It was a pleasant and quiet feeling. Unknowingly, the car stopped at the bottom of a cliff in the northwest. Lin Ruashi came back to her senses, and she knew that they had arrived at the wedding room. Lin Ruashi already knew that Yang Chen's bridal room wouldn't be an ordinary one, but when she followed Yang Chen's finger and saw the bridal room, Lin Ruashi still opened her mouth cutely, looking a little dazed. Chapter 968. The slightly bare rock cliff in front of them was more than 100 meters high. Moreover, there was only a winding staircase leading to the top of the cliff. At the top of this rock mountain, there was a large open and flat area. It was a flat surface cut out of a huge mountain rock. On this wide, flat land, a castle that looked especially mysterious and dignified in the night stood silently. It was indeed a castle, just like the European castles seen on TV. It was made of pure large rocks, with tall towers standing around, and a huge semicircular dome in the center. Several long, colorful flags fluttered in the sea breeze on the top of the tower. Because it was night, it was impossible to see what patterns were on them. The mix of Gothic and Baroque styles made the castle look especially luxurious and majestic. Dear, if this house were to be sold in Zhonghai, it would probably be worth hundreds of millions. Yang Cheng joked. Lin Ruashi said weakly, "How? Is this a wedding house? Although the castle looks beautiful, it can't really be used as a house. Besides, it's such a big house. Wouldn't it be too extravagant for the two of us to live in?" Yang Chung spread his hands helplessly and said, "This castle was originally built for the nobles to hold grand banquets when the British colonized this place. However, before the construction was completed, there was a riot. The foreign forces and the natives quarreled, and in the end, it became an abandoned prototype. After I took over, Ron said that he wanted to complete the castle and rebuild it into a place for me to live. At that time, I thought that since it was already spread out, I might as well build it. In fact, I didn't live for a few days after the construction was completed. Most of the time, I was wandering outside. So, it's not that I want to spend more money on purpose, but the foundation is only so big. I can't deliberately make it look like a misfit." Lin Ruashi couldn't help but feel amused after listening to so many twists and turns. "I don't blame you. Why do you look like you've been wronged?" With that, the woman jumped out of the car and looked up at the long steps. She said with some embarrassment, "Do I have to walk up? Is it inconvenient for me?" Because there was no time to change during the day, Lin Ruashi was still wearing the priceless wedding dress. Yang Chung walked in front of the woman and squatted down. He turned around and said, "Of course I'll carry you up. But first, don't think of me as Zhu Beiji." Lin Ruashi rolled her eyes at him and snorted. "How childish. You're the only one who would think that way." However, he did not hesitate in his movements and directly pounced on Yang Cheng's back. In fact, Yang Cheng could jump to the top of the hill in one leap, but the process of climbing up step by step with his bride on his back was another kind of enjoyment. Because Lin Ruashi's wedding dress was fluffy, the layers of gauze rubbed against his arms, and when he felt the woman's two delicate and plump legs, Yang Cheng had an indirect, wonderful touch. After slowly swaying to the top of the hill, Yang Cheng held Lin Ruashi's hand and walked to the front of the castle gate. At the edge of the huge round arch door, which was nearly 3 meters high, was a precision electronic lock specially used to detect the iris. It was the first time that Lin Ruashi had seen such a rare thing. She had seen it on TV and in movies before, but she did not expect to experience it herself this time. Yang Chung explained with a smile, "Only mine, Ron's irises can unlock the password here. At the same time, we can record other people's iris information after unlocking it. In the future, you'll be the mistress of this place, so you have to record your iris information here." Lin Ruashi was full of interest. After standing in front of the detector for a while, according to Yang Cheng's instructions, the English subtitles on the screen indicated that the recording had been completed. "Well, from now on, you can enter and exit this castle at any time." Having said so, Yang Chun pressed a button to turn it on. 2 large round, arched doors slowly opened at the same time. And then, a large area of pure, white soft lights outside the castle was opened. For a moment, the originally dark and somewhat deserted castle turned into a modern building that shone with light. It was as if an old house that had been silent for hundreds of years was glowing with vitality after the return of its owner. Before Lin Ruashi could withdraw from the shocking changes in front of her, Yang Chung had already put his arm around the woman's waist and stepped into the main hall. Because Ron had regularly cleaned and maintained the castle before, everything in the castle was as new as ever. Unlike the cold stone structure outside, the interior of the castle was decorated warmly and brightly. As soon as they entered the door, they stepped on the solid teak floor. The living room, which was as spacious as a basketball court, was surrounded by beige warm walls and a large range of tempered laminated glass design, allowing the castle to have a broad view of the magnificent sea view outside. All kinds of modern electronic products were placed everywhere. The furniture was made of a rather classical style of pear wood carvings and leather seats. The visual impact of the two completely different styles was just right. Above the dome were 5 magnificent crystal chandeliers that flickered with brilliant light, illuminating the entire living room. 2 winding red-carpeted stairs led one's gaze to the second floor. At both ends were 3 or 4 rooms. After passing through the center, there was also a whole row of doors on both sides. According to the square design of the castle, there should be a corresponding number of rooms on the other side. Since there was an unobstructed view of the sea on all sides, there were no problems with light or scenery in each room. Lin Ruashi was first attracted by the grand layout in front of her for a while. But later, she felt that something was wrong and asked Yang Cheng suspiciously, how many iris data can the iris detector outside the door collect at most? Yang Cheng didn't think too much about it and replied, it should be up to 30. Why? This castle is so big. It should be able to accommodate quite a few people, right? Lin Ruashi asked with a smile. Yang Cheng proudly said, Darling Ruashi, aren't you spouting nonsense? A castle of more than 1,000 square meters is no joke. I can show you around. There are all kinds of gyms, swimming pools, entertainment rooms, and even a library. Above that, there are more than 20 guest rooms, each with its own bathroom, storage room, and everything else. When Lin Ruashi heard this, she gritted her teeth and coldly snorted. With so many rooms, it would be a waste if they were all empty. How can they all be empty? Yang Cheng giggled and said, sooner or later, wait. At this point, Yang Cheng suddenly woke up from his stupor. He was stunned for a moment and cursed inwardly. He had underestimated his opponent. Because he wanted to show off to a woman, he had actually exposed the little plan in his heart. Sure enough, at this moment, Lin Ruashi's eyes were already filled with coldness, and she looked at him with a face full of disappointment. Speak, what are you waiting for? Lin Ruashi sneered. Are you waiting for me to compromise so that you can call all the other women to stay here, and then you can be happy? Sigh. That, wife, it's not all what you think. Yang Cheng rubbed his hands and muttered in his heart. How could a woman think of this point? He did indeed have that plan. Otherwise, why would he let Ron decorate all the rooms and wait for guests to arrive? Of course, tonight, he purely wanted to spend a good night here with his real wife. Lin Ruashi walked to the center of the living room and walked around. She asked with interest, Is that so? Then what are you thinking? Yang Cheng smiled foolishly and said, I want to wait for tomorrow or something. I want our mother and Mother Wong to come up and live with us. That's why I said that they won't all be empty. So that's how it is. Lin Ruashi mocked, but there will still be more than 20 empty rooms. Didn't you want Xiangwei, Qinyi, and Anxin to come here and see your kingdom? Anyway, our wedding is over, and they seem to be very interested. I think you should hurry up and pick them up and let them stay here. If they don't have enough rooms, why don't I go down the mountain and build a small wooden hut? Anyway, I feel that climbing the mountain is very tiring. Hearing the woman's words becoming more and more resentful and angry, Yang Cheng's scalp went numb. He smiled bitterly and said, My good wife, can we wait until the bridal chamber is over before discussing this problem? It's almost 3 in the morning. If we continue like this, every minute of the spring night will be over. Chapter 969. He had been holding it in for an entire day and had been waiting for this moment. At this time, there were signs that he would start to get jealous. How could he take it? Consummation. Lin Ruashi sneered and glanced at Yang Cheng. Didn't I do it on the first day I met you? Consummation? It's late. I'm going to bed. Good night. After she finished speaking, Lin Ruashi lifted the hem of her dress and walked upstairs. Yang Cheng's face fell. He stammered and wanted to say something, but he didn't know where to start. Following behind the woman, Yang Cheng tried to please her with a smile. Ruashi, today is such a good day. If we don't do something, it won't be perfect. How can our wedding be regretted? Lin Ruashi said calmly. I think it's quite perfect. I've seen it, eaten it, worn it, and got the gift. I'm very satisfied. Yang Cheng smiled stiffly. But we haven't done it yet. Lin Ruashi suddenly turned around and said coldly, If I do it with you, will I get pregnant? Yang Cheng looked at Lin Ruashi in surprise and shook his head. It should be very difficult, almost impossible. Didn't I say before that my physical fitness is too strong? You need to reach the soul formation stage at least to have a chance to get pregnant. When Yang Cheng's endless resolve restoration scripture was only at the 7th level, he already had a physical fitness of 17, which made her pregnant. Otherwise, with Yang Cheng's dissolute nature, he would have children all over the world. Now, she had experienced the first level of the 9 heavenly thunder tribulation, the Tai Ching heavenly thunder. Normally, she was at the first level of the tribulation passing stage. It depended on the probability that she could get pregnant in the soul formation stage. After all, this was not the strength of the ordinary tribulation passing stage. Lin Ruashi said, "Since I won't get pregnant after doing that with you, then there won't be a result. I'm not interested in things that don't have a result. Is this even possible?" Yang Cheng was on the verge of tears. He smiled awkwardly and said, "Honey, are you kidding me? How can a newlywed couple do such a thing just to have a child? Besides, didn't you promise me before? Women are fickle to begin with. Now, I've changed my mind again." Lin Ruashi said indifferently, "Even this is possible. Why not?" Lin Ruashi glanced at him. "Of course, if you want to use force, I can't stop you. Like I said, it's not like I haven't done it before." Yang Cheng's expression turned serious. "Why do you say that? I won't allow you to treat yourself like a toy. You know I won't. If you don't like it, I definitely won't do it." Only then did Lin Ruashi's expression soften a little. She said tiredly, "It's a little too much, but the moment I think about how your mind is filled with women, I feel very annoyed. I don't want to quarrel with you, nor do I want to have a cold war with you, because today is our wedding. But I really don't want to sleep with you at a time like this. I'm afraid that this kind of day will be ruined just like that, even though it's not very comfortable anymore." Yang Cheng smiled helplessly and said, "Why do you have to think about that? I was just saying that, but I didn't do it yet. Is there a difference?" Lin Ruashi couldn't help but raise her voice a little more. She snappily said, "Right now, as long as I look at these doors, my mind will be filled with your bad thoughts. Make yourself look like an ancient emperor, and I'll tolerate it if you show up in front of me for a while. Do you really intend to squeeze everyone into one place?" Yang Cheng thought to himself, wasn't that his dream? But of course, he had to drag it out at this moment. He coughed lightly and said, "Ruashi, listen to my explanation. I never wanted to force you to accept it. If you don't want to, at most, we won't live together in the future. Don't say any more. We've lived together for more than a year. Even if I can't guess everything, I know what you're thinking." Lin Ruashi shook her head and said, "Originally, I thought that I would turn a blind eye to it. As long as I don't see too much, I can endure it. Since you can't give up on them, and I can't leave you, then let's take a step back. Don't people say that love is mutual tolerance? But when I saw these empty rooms just now, I realized that it wasn't something that could be done just because I wanted to. Seeing the reality was completely different from my ideal life. My heart is in a mess right now. Just treat it as letting me calm down and rest early. Okay?" Yang Cheng was completely speechless. The woman had already blocked his words, leaving him no room to maneuver. He couldn't help but smile bitterly and say, "Then I'll take you to the master bedroom. You can sleep there tonight. I won't make you upset. Just sleep next door." And the two of them went upstairs. Yang Cheng brought Lin Ruashi into the most spacious bedroom. The special thing about this bedroom was that it was hard to avoid the protruding design, causing the entire bedroom to be sealed by tempered glass on 3 sides. From the outside, these transparent glasses would only be greenish-black, blending into the colors of the castle. From the inside, one could see the magnificent view of the sea outside. However, such a beautiful design didn't make Lin Ruashi excited. At this moment, her gaze only fell on the bed in the room that she couldn't ignore. The size of this bed was at least 5 meters long and wide. It was obvious that it had been customized through special requirements. On the huge bed, there were soft velvet blankets and a few large soft pillows. Lin Ruashi, whose breath was a little cold, slowly raised her head and stared at Yang Cheng. She said coldly, "You're really thoughtful." Yang Cheng wanted to hit his head on the ground. How could he forget about this again? This was a super large bed that he had specially asked Ron to import from Myanmar in order to roll the sheets with women. After carving it, he had pieced it together into a super large bed. Originally, it was a treasure that was exciting to think about, but now it had become a weapon that angered Lin Ruashi even more. Wife, Ruashi, baby, don't go." Yang Cheng shouted louder and louder because Lin Ruashi directly turned around and walked out. This was even more infuriating than the 20 or so empty rooms. because this was an intention that couldn't be any more straightforward. A bed that was more than 5 meters long and wide. How many women could lie in it? Yang Chung chased after Lin Ruoshi, but Lin Ruoshi had no intention of stopping. She walked to the door of a room next door and opened the door. After entering the room, Lin Ruoshi turned around and said with a cold face, "Although I'm not a famous lady from a wealthy family, nor am I a royal princess, I'm also a woman with my own dignity. If you think that I can accept my husband having fun with a group of women in a bed, then you're wrong. I love you, but it doesn't mean that I will let myself become shameless because I love you." After saying that, the woman slammed the door with a bang. Yang Chung stood in front of the door in a daze, his mind blank. After waiting for more than 10 seconds, his heart was filled with infinite guilt, sadness, and some bitterness. What kind of wedding night was this? Just because there was an empty room that no one lived in and a big bed that no one slept in, I became synonymous with debauchery, corruption, and filth? He didn't know if he was blaming himself for not thinking it through, or if he was blaming Lin Ruoshi for being sensitive and not listening to his explanation. But Yang Chung wanted to rush out and jump into the cold sea to roar. It would have been fine if he had really done those things, but he hadn't successfully committed the crime yet. In his annoyance, Yang Chung stood outside the door and began to think about how to calm Lin Ruoshi's anger. They couldn't just have a wedding, and they hadn't even had a honeymoon yet, and they were already at odds. After entering the room, the woman, who was still wearing a wedding dress, was panting and her eyes were moist. She also had a headache. Seeing this series of events, it was like pouring cold water on her sweetheart. After the sweetness faded, it was as painful as sprinkling a layer of salt on it. She knew that Yang Chung didn't deliberately make her angry, but it was precisely this kind of preparation that made it even more difficult for her to accept. Was he so sure that she was so easy to bully? Was he so easy to convince? Lin Ruoshi seemed to have lost all her strength. Before she could walk to the bed, she sat directly on the soft wool carpet. She hugged her knees, leaned her head on her arms, and sobbed. Yang Chung, who was standing outside the door, naturally heard this sound. Although he couldn't think of how to ask for forgiveness, he couldn't choose to escape when a woman needed comfort. Taking a deep breath, Yang Chung walked forward and planned to open the door that wasn't locked. Just then, there was a vibration in his pants pocket. His phone hadn't been ringing since he came to the bed, and now it was calling. Yang Chung cursed in his heart. Who would be so stupid at this critical moment? After taking it out, Yang Chung was confused again. It was Li Dun calling. That kid knew that he was getting married. Could it be that he calculated the time to disturb him? Unfortunately, his wishful thinking was wrong. He really didn't have anything good to do with him. Sighing helplessly, Yang Chung picked up the phone and said, "You kid." Before Yang Chung could say anything, Li Dun on the other side of the phone shouted and interrupted him. "Mother asterisk her. Old Yang, it's an emergency. Come back and save me." Chapter 970. Yang Chen's heart skipped a beat. Although Li Dun had a big mouth and was good at bullsh ting, he knew his limits when it came to serious matters. If it wasn't for the fact that he was in a dire situation, he wouldn't have used such a tone to ask for help. Where? Yang Chung cut to the chase. The forest near Tianming Lake in the east of Beijing. F*CK. I'm too busy. Find it yourself. The phone was hung up, and the last thing he heard was Li Dun's angry roar. Yang Chung was so shocked that he almost smashed his phone. What the hell? He wasn't familiar with Beijing and Tianming Lake. How would he know which one was Tianming Lake? But Yang Chung knew that Li Dun was running out of time. He glanced at the closed door and saw that the woman was still sobbing inside. Yang Chung gritted his teeth and opened the door. "Ruoshi, I'm going back to Beijing to save Li Dun. I'll apologize to you when I get back." Having said that, Yang Chung couldn't be bothered with Lin Ruoshi, who was looking up blankly. He didn't dare to delay any longer and no longer suppressed his cultivation base. His figure disappeared into thin air. Lin Ruoshi thought that Yang Chung had come in to comfort her. Even if he couldn't repair their relationship immediately, at least he could let her sleep. But she didn't expect that he would just disappear after opening the door and yelling for help. At that moment, Lin Ruoshi couldn't care less about what Yang Cheng was doing. She just felt a strong sense of neglect and abandonment. She never thought that their wedding night would end so hastily. Gradually, the woman's eyes turned as cold as ice, emitting a chilling aura. After leaving, Yang Cheng didn't have time to think about it. Just finding Li Dun was enough to annoy him. With his current cultivation at the tribulation stage, he couldn't teleport. However, it was only a matter of minutes for him to return to Hua, Xia's Yinjing from the Mediterranean Sea. However, as soon as he raised his cultivation to 100%, Yang Cheng immediately felt that there seemed to be an irresistible force between heaven and earth that was trying to sense him. Although it was not enough for the divine thunder tribulation to descend, it was enough to scare Yang Cheng. Therefore, Yang Cheng was forced to suppress his cultivation as much as possible so that he wouldn't lose his life before he could save the others. Ever since he learned about the existence of magic treasures, Yang Cheng was even more convinced of what Kristen had told him. Tens of thousands of years ago, the cultivators of Huaxia had indeed relied on magic treasures to resist the heavenly tribulations. As for those ancient immortals who were able to overcome 3 stages of lightning tribulations, they definitely possessed peerless treasures. The second stage of the Shangqing Heavenly Thunder Trial, without a top-notch magical treasure, he would definitely not be able to withstand it. Although Yang Cheng was confident in his talent in cultivation, he wasn't blindly confident. He didn't expect to be lucky enough to survive a second time. The endless resolve restoration scripture might be able to save him once, but there was no guarantee that it wouldn't work the second time. As he pondered over these miscellaneous matters, in the blink of an eye, Yang Cheng was already in the sky above Yinjing. Looking down at the city below the clouds, the houses and the crisscrossing roads seemed small and messy. After looking at the few lakes in the east of the city, Yang Cheng found one that was the closest to the city and instantly landed. At this time, due to the time zone, it was morning in Yinjing. Especially the suburbs outside the city, it wasn't too crowded, so it was easier to search. Yang Cheng looked for a hidden spot and spread out his divine sense to search a large area. At the same time, he looked for the signs of Tianming Lake. In his heart, he muttered, "Li Dun, you have to hang in there," right at that moment. In a forest of metasequoia trees to the east of Tianming Lake, a battle of annihilation that no one could have imagined was taking place. Li Dun's blindfold had already been taken off. His green short-sleeved military uniform was stained red with blood, and there were a few gashes on his body that were badly mangled. But the man's eyes were like a crazed tiger's. He didn't care about the wounds on his body at all. Instead, his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Beside Li Dun, there was a woman shivering, her face covered in dirt and her eyes red and swollen. It was Tang Xian in a yellow dress. Tang Xian's hair was a mess, and she was curled up beside Li Dun. One of her hands was gently caressing her abdomen, and the other was holding her right calf, which was bleeding profusely. Apparently, she was also injured, and on her lower abdomen, there was an obvious bulge. At the same time, there were 5 men around Li Dun and Tang Xian. They were either strong or skinny, and they were all wearing ordinary clothes. But they were all staring at Li Dun and Tang Xian with bloodshot eyes. All 5 of them had wounds on their bodies, but to them, the bleeding wounds were healing very quickly. Moreover, the smell of blood had stimulated their desire to fight. Li Dun clenched his fists. His Xiantian true qi had already gathered in his body. Coupled with his years of experience as a general in the army, he was indeed mighty. But the 5 men did not retreat at all. Almost instantly, the 5 of them surrounded Li Dun and attacked him fiercely. Their reflexes were extremely fast, and their movements were inhuman. They instinctively attacked with their fists and legs. Bam, 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 bam. In a series of collisions, Li Dun's fists and legs were fighting against the 5 men at the same time. Although the Xiantian True Qi surrounding Li Dun had a strong explosive force, it was not enough to hit the 5 men hard enough. The 5 men used their physical strength to restrict Li Dun to a small area and launched a series of attacks at him. Their flesh cracked, and blood splattered everywhere. Li Dun could have escaped directly. With the strength of his legs, even if he could not win against the 5 men, he could still run away. But Tang Xian was behind him, and he could not run away alone. A rather muscular man swung his tail sideways and kicked Li Dun's abdomen with his legs. The 5 men's physique was comparable to Li Dun's, or even better. If Li Dun did not have Xiantian True Qi to protect his body and was proficient in close combat, he would have been beaten to death. But now, his Xiantian True Qi was not as strong as before. After such a heavy blow, Li Dun finally could not hold on anymore. Li Dun spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. He rolled a few times on the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Li Dun, Tang Xian, who had been in fear all this time, screamed, and tears flowed down her face. But Li Dun did not have time to care about her, because 2 of the 5 men were already rushing towards Tang Xian. Li Dun did not have time to catch his breath. He stomped on the ground and shot out like a bullet. The man's roar was filled with unreconciled rage and ruthless determination. After a headbutt landed on one of the men's chest, Li Dun hugged the man, and like a scorpion, he kicked the other man's chest. Li Dun's legs were like scissors, and he clamped the man's neck. Go to hell. Just as Li Dun was about to break the man's neck, another man swooped down and hit Li Dun with his elbow. Ugh! Li Dun let out a painful groan. That elbow strike landed right on his abdomen. Li Dun spat out another mouthful of blood and bile. He felt that all his organs were tangled together, and it was worse than death. His legs lost all strength, and he fell to the ground. At the same time, the man who was caught earlier suddenly raised his leg and kicked him. Like a kite with a broken string, Li Dun's body was thrown back in a high curve, and he smashed into a yew tree, breaking it in half. Bam! As the tree fell, Li Dun curled up like a shrimp and kept vomiting blood. Tang Xian's pretty face was pale, but because of her leg injury, she could only crawl and roll to Li Dun. The woman's tears were like a surging tide, but she could not control them. Because of the dust on her face was instantly stained. Li Dun, Li Dun, Li Dun, are you okay? Don't let anything happen to you. Why are you so stupid? I told you not to worry about me. Woo! Li Dun's eyes were wide open, and he grinned at Tang Xian. Don't be afraid. I will protect you. As he said that, Li Dun summoned another breath of Xiantian True Qi and struggled to get up from the ground. He tightened his muscles and shielded Tang Xian behind him, as if that was the last thing he had left. Chapter 971. Li Dun had used up a large amount of Xiantian True Qi, and his Dantian was extremely weak. But the man was like an undefeatable god of war. His eyes were blazing with fire, and he stood proudly against the 5 monster-like humans that were closing in on him. Tang Xian looked at the man in front of her. She was choked with sobs and couldn't speak a single word. Her teary eyes were filled with endless sorrow and regret. However, the 5 men with bloodshot eyes had no intention of restraining themselves. When they were about a dozen meters away from Li Dun, the 5 of them spread out and surrounded him again. They were planning to kill Li Dun one last time. Li Dun was fully focused. Even if the chances of stopping the 5 were slim, he had no intention of giving up. Almost at the same time, the 5 of them dashed toward Li Dun like bolts of lightning. Li Dun lowered his body, gathered a large amount of True Qi at the tip of his toes, and swept up like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. There was a loud explosion in the air. The 5 of them were thrown back a few meters, and Li Dun was also thrown back a few meters. Relatively speaking, Li Dun had almost lost the strength to lift his legs after being hit by the 5 of them. The 5 men were furious. Without waiting for Li Dun to catch his breath, they all charged at him, ready to kill him. Tang Xian saw Li Dun in front of her, about to be killed by the 5 men. She was so terrified that she couldn't help but scream. But at this moment, an enormous pressure, like that of a deity descending to the mortal world, suddenly fell straight down. Boom! A strong gust of wind swept up, and the dust in the small area was blown away. The five men were pushed back by the strong force. After a few meters, they were about to raise their heads to see what was going on, but a man in a white shirt had already appeared in front of Li Dun. Yang Cheng, who had arrived at the scene, turned around and looked at Li Dun, who was laughing so hard that blood was coming out of his mouth. He frowned and asked what happened. Li Dun didn't have the strength to say a complete sentence. His teeth were red, and he just lay on the ground, laughing like a fool, as if he had lost all his strength. Tang Xian, on the other hand, cried, "Child Yang, save Li Dun. He had suffered many injuries." "Whoa!" Yang Cheng looked at Tang Xian in surprise, then glanced at the wounded Li Dun and said, "He's fine. It's not a fatal wound. He has a strong foundation. I'll treat him later and he'll recover quickly." While they were talking, the five red-eyed men were burning with rage. After roaring like wild beasts, the five men rushed towards Yang Cheng with even more ferocious strength. Yang Cheng did not dodge. He stood where he was and let the punches and kicks hit his face, chest, and waist. Just as the punches and kicks were about to reach his body, they were entangled by the heaven and earth restoration energy. The five men wailed in pain because their arms and legs were actually being pulled out by the heaven and earth power. In the end, their bones were also decomposed. Inch by inch, they were broken into pieces of bone marrow and bone fragments. The cruel scene made Tang Xian's face turn pale. Even Li Dun, who was lying on the ground, rolled his eyes. Yang Cheng furrowed his brows. With his current heaven and earth restoration energy, it was rare for his body to be able to withstand such a powerful attack. These men did not have any cultivation, but they were able to almost kill Li Dun, who was in the advanced phase of the Xiantian realm, with their physical strength alone. This was not something a normal human could achieve. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. Yang Chen thought to himself, "Why do these people's physiques seem to be the same as mine when I have no cultivation? Could it be in Buwen's doing again? Just how many human bodies had he used his genes on? Perhaps only his own body, without any cultivation base, could rely on the powerful self-healing ability of the divine light to be engulfed by this kind of power of heaven and earth, and yet not be destroyed." Even so, in less than 10 seconds, the five men had been turned into 5 pools of blood by Yang Cheng, which melted into the fir forest and became fertilizer. Only then did Yang Cheng turn around and squat down to help Li Dun up. He did not care that he was covered in blood and said, "Control the true qi in your dantian. I will guide your meridians to repair themselves. This way, you should be able to recover in no time." Li Dun was no longer laughing. His face was contorted in pain, but he forced himself to nod and sit down with his legs crossed. Yang Cheng placed one hand on Li Dun's back and gathered the restoration energy of heaven and earth restoration energy. A special true qi that seemed to be full of vitality flowed into Li Dun's body. Li Dun knew that Yang Cheng's cultivation was much higher than his and that the impact would be strong. But when Yang Cheng's heaven and earth restoration energy seeped into his meridians, he almost cried out in shock. What the hell? Old Yang, are you trying to heal me or kill me?" "What do you mean?" Yang Cheng frowned. "Your meridians can take it. Are you afraid of pain?" "You?" Li Dun wanted to cry, but no tears came out. This guy was trying to heal him as long as he didn't die. Li Dun tried his best to control his Tibetan Tantric Dharma and guide the pure heaven and earth restoration energy that Yang Cheng channeled into him. As a combat technique, the Endless Resolve restoration scripture was not that outstanding. All the techniques used to defeat the enemy were figured out by Yang Cheng himself. But as a healing technique, it was definitely an unparalleled technique. Li Dun could feel that his limbs, bones, and meridians were aching from the overwhelming true qi that was far beyond his imagination. Some parts of his meridians even cracked. But what followed next was an instant recovery. Once the meridians were restored, they became even more resilient than before. At the same time, they gradually expanded. Clenching his teeth and enduring the pain, Li Dun steadied his divine will. The innate true qi in his dantian quickly recovered with the help of the heaven and earth restoration energy. He knew that opportunities like this were few and far between. Not every time Yang Cheng helped him, he would have a breakthrough. There was a limit to the expansion of one's strength after reaching a certain realm. Before reaching the next realm, overextending one's strength that did not belong to oneself would only cause one's Taoist heart to be influenced by the outside world and lose the possibility of further growth. Throughout the process, Tang Xin did not even dare to breathe loudly. She knelt quietly to the side. Seeing that Li Dun's complexion was getting better, Tang Xin heaved a sigh of relief. She wiped away the tears on her face and smiled in relief. Although Yang Cheng was helping Li Dun expand his meridians and sea of qi, it was an easy task for him. So when he was free, he glanced at Tang Xin and couldn't help but smile in amusement. But when he saw Tang Xion's bulging belly, he was puzzled. The process seemed to take a long time for Li Dun, but in reality, it only lasted for less than 10 minutes. When Yang Cheng stopped, Li Dun's wounds had already healed. He opened his tiger-like eyes, which shone brightly. There was an unconcealable joy that made Li Dun's face glow. "How are you?" Tang Xin couldn't help but ask. Li Dun gave her a silly smile. "Xin, if you give me a kiss, I'm sure I'll recover immediately." Tang Xin was stunned at first, but then she rolled her eyes and turned her head away. "Seems like you're healed." Li Dun was used to Tang Xion's half-hearted exchange, so he turned to Yang Cheng and said, "Old Yang, thank goodness you came quickly. I was worried that you would be too lazy to save your brother's life during the bridal chamber." Yang Cheng thought to himself that if it really was a critical moment, he might really need to delay for another 10 minutes. But the problem was that he didn't even have the chance. "This time, you can't just treat me to Lanzhou ramen. This is a great perfection. Although it's mostly because of your good foundation, I did help a lot too." Yang Cheng patted Li Dun's shoulder. "Not to mention, I also saved you and your lover." "Of course." Li Dun grinned. "Let's not talk about great perfection. You helped me save Xin, so I'll at least treat you to a bowl of zhajiang noodles." Chapter 972. Yang Cheng wanted nothing more than to kick him in the crotch, but for the sake of the bowl of zhajiang noodles, he endured it. He shook his head helplessly. "All right, what's going on? Who are these people? Why are you here?" This was what Yang Cheng wanted to know. Clearly, this was not a simple situation. Based on the strength of the 5 assassins, they were definitely sent by someone to kill Li Dun and Tang Xin. Li Dun scratched his head and smiled bitterly. The Tang family thinks that Xin is the one who poisoned Master Tang and her sister, Tang Wan. Also, Xin is pregnant, and it's a disgrace to the Tang family. If it weren't for her sister, Tang Wan, Xin would have been taken to the hospital for an abortion and sent to prison. Tang Wan told me about this in time, so I rushed back from Jiangnan's military base. I wanted to bring Xin to the villa by Tianming Lake to avoid those people and find out the truth. But I didn't expect to run into these people the moment I got here. Hearing this, Yang Chen asked with a faint smile, "Oh, why are they so sure that Miss Tang Xin is the culprit? And whose child is it in her womb?" Tang Xin bit her lips, and a sad smile appeared on her face. "Child Yang, 2 days ago, the criminal investigation team in charge of investigating the poisoning of the Tang family found the dissolved poison in the pipe of the lamp in my room. Also, I'm responsible for taking care of the family, especially Grandpa's food. Of course they would think that I was the one who poisoned him." Yang Cheng looked enlightened and smiled. "If that's the case, then the evidence is conclusive. If Miss Tang really didn't poison him, then why would the poison be hidden in your room? Also, you haven't explained whose child is it." Tang Xion's face turned paler and paler, but she bit her lips and couldn't say a word. Li Dun couldn't stand it anymore. "Old Yang, what are you doing? My Xin is so kind. Why would she hurt her own family? Besides, what era was it now? Even if she was pregnant with a child, what was the big deal about not mentioning the father? All right, the most important thing now is to find out who sent these assassins. I will definitely not allow those idiots from the Tang family to take Xin away." Yang Cheng couldn't help but laugh. "You're quite open-minded. This is the woman you like. The child in her stomach is definitely not yours." "That's enough." Li Dun's face darkened. "If you say that again, I'm going to get mad." Tang Xin looked at Li Dun with tears in her eyes, but she was touched. Yang Cheng shrugged his shoulders. If one of you is willing to fight and the other is willing to suffer, then I won't get involved, but this matter involves the person who poisoned my woman. I must find that bastard, so you must come back to the Tang family with me. I need to understand everything and confront some people. With you? Correct. Hee, no problem then, Li Dun said happily. You can be our bodyguard. I'm worried that once you leave, those monsters will come looking for trouble again. Yang Cheng looked at the thick-skinned guy speechlessly. It seemed like he really couldn't take advantage of this guy. After making the decision, Yang Cheng first helped Tang Xin heal the flesh wound on her leg. This kind of small matter was naturally done in a moment. After that, the three of them returned to the Li family's private mansion by Tianming Lake and got into Li Dun's Hummer to head to the Tang family's mansion. On the way, Yang Cheng thought about the details of the incident until now. Suddenly, his phone vibrated again. Yang Cheng took a look and saw that it was a call from Ron. At this time, it should be dawn in the Mediterranean Sea. What's wrong, Ron? Your Majesty Pluto, Ron said with some difficulty. Miss Lin, she said she wants to return to Zhonghai immediately. This, Yang Cheng was stunned, then felt a deep sense of guilt. Speaking of which, their wedding night was really a mess. The difference between day and night was like heaven and earth. Is Ruashi next to you? Let me talk to her. Ron smiled bitterly. Miss Lin said there's nothing to say. Yang Cheng was helpless. This woman's stubbornness was really something that even 9 bulls couldn't pull back. But what he had to deal with now was very likely to involve the unstable factor Yin Buin. It was not something that could be delayed. Then try your best to satisfy her. If she wants to return to Zhonghai, arrange a plane. As for my mom and mother Wang, don't disturb them. If they wake up and want to return to Huaxia, then we'll arrange for them. Yang Cheng couldn't do much. He could only continue to let the Sea Eagles continue to protect them secretly, in case something happened in Beijing and Zhonghai. After receiving the order, although Ron was puzzled, he did as he was told. After hanging up, Li Dun, who was next to him, laughed gloatingly. Looks like you don't have a good life with so many women. It's all because of you. You couldn't have come out earlier or later. You almost died at this time. Yang Cheng cursed. Li Dun said disdainfully, Come on, if your wife doesn't want to talk to you, it's definitely not because of me. Yang Cheng snorted, losing his confidence. After a while, Li Dun asked with a straight face, What do you think of those 5 monsters? Most likely it has something to do with Yin Buin. That physique is probably the result of biochemical modification using my genes, Yang Cheng said frankly. Tang Xin, who was sitting in the back, trembled when she heard the name Yin Buin. Yang Cheng noticed it through the rearview mirror, but he didn't point it out. Li Dun also frowned. So that's the case. Don't tell me that Yin Buin used your genes on an army? If they all have the same physique as you, then it's going to be a big problem. Don't worry about that. Yang Cheng said. Although he succeeded, not every test subject can withstand this kind of genetic modification. Most likely the success rate is very low. Otherwise, there would be more than 5 this time. Li Dun was confused. But isn't Yin Buin not in Beijing? Could it be that he's hiding in a place that we didn't expect? Although Yin Buin and the Yin family are gone, it doesn't mean that there aren't Yin Buin's minions or accomplices in Beijing. In fact, Yin Buin might not be the mastermind behind all this. At least I don't think that Yin Buin could have done all of this alone. Yang Cheng narrowed his eyes. Li Dun said, I don't care what Yin Buin is up to, but I won't let anyone hurt XNR, even if it costs me my life. Yang Cheng glanced at the woman who was staring at Li Dun in a daze. He sighed and muttered in his heart, Keep your life. I can see that you're about to succeed. Don't fail at the last moment. Half an hour later, the car arrived at the Tang family's gate. The servants had already rushed in to report the situation. The entire Tang family was in a mess when they heard that Yang Cheng and Li Dun had brought Tang Xin back. The news that Tang Xin was the culprit who poisoned Yin Buin and had an affair with another man had spread like wildfire in the Tang family. Everyone looked at her with disdain. However, at this time, 2 heirs of the Yang and Li families had stepped forward to bring her back. The meaning of this made some of the Tang family members scratch their heads in confusion. Tang Xion's face was pale and haggard, but she had no choice but to follow Li Dun back to the Tang family's residence. Just then, a few black cars with military license plates arrived outside the Tang family's residence. There were military off-road vehicles in front and behind them, and a group of solemn special forces soldiers came out. Two of the black bulletproof cars came out, and Yang Cheng and Li Dun stopped at the gate. Li Mozhen, dressed in formal attire, his gray hair combed neatly, and his only son, Li Dun's father, Li Yunpeng, got out of the car together. In another car, Kai Yunqing, dressed in a military uniform, walked out with Mo Feng, one of the group of 8, and his daughter, Kai Ning. Obviously, these two groups of people had discussed this beforehand. Li Dun felt a little awkward when he saw his grandfather and father, because he had returned to Yinjing on his own. Li Mozhen walked up and reprimanded him. Useless brat. How dare you break the military rules for a woman? Hee, old man. She's not an ordinary woman after all. She's going to be your future granddaughter-in-law, Li Dun boasted. Tang Xian's face blushed when she heard this. She wanted to explain herself, but she didn't dare to. Yang Chun winked at Kai Ning and said to Kai Yunqing, "We've been waiting for so long. It seems like we've finally gotten something." Chapter 973. Kai Yunqing was as amiable as ever. As a general, his temperament should be more like a scholarly general's. The plan we set up earlier, according to what you said, is finally working. Although it's a bit late, at least we got a definite result. Most of the people around him didn't understand what he meant, except for Li Mozhen. Yang Cheng's eyes lit up. Is it what I thought? Almost. Since that's the case, let's go in. Yang Cheng didn't ask any more questions and waved at the crowd. At this moment, Mo Feng, who was standing beside Kai Yunqing, said unhappily, "Vice Premier Li is here. How can you take the lead?" Yang Cheng glanced at the tall and skinny man in black, thought carefully, and said, "You're Zheng Xinlin's cousin? I remember meeting you once in Zhonghai. So you're still here? You, even if you're from the Yang family, you should respect the elders and the juniors." Mo Feng's face turned red. Back then, Yang Cheng killed Zheng Xinlin without giving him any face, and the Zheng family had already fallen apart. As a member of the group of 8, although he wasn't affected, his background was completely gone. Although the one who killed Zheng Mao was Kai Ning from the Kai family, he put all his anger on Yang Cheng. Normally, he wouldn't dare to say this to Yang Cheng. But now that the Li family was here, Li Mozhen was Yang Cheng's elder and the most important person in the crowd. Since Yang Cheng was the leader, he obviously wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He wanted to use Li Mozhen's face to give Yang Cheng a taste of his own medicine. However, Mo Feng was just a fighter with decent martial arts skills, so his brain wasn't that good. His words made Kai Yunqing and Li Mozhen frown. He came here to do something, but he took every opportunity to find trouble with Yang Cheng. Wasn't he courting death by eating arsenic? Sure enough, after Yang Cheng looked him up and down with a strange look, he stood on the stairs and kicked him in the chest without hesitation. Yang Cheng's speed was naturally not something Mo Feng, who was an ordinary member of the group of 8, could imagine. With a muffled bang sound, Mo Feng's body was like a black cannonball that flew more than 10 meters into the air before crashing into a large locust tree in front of the courtyard. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This young master really hit when he wanted to. He didn't even give them time to react. Kai Yunqing frowned and shook his head. He ordered 2 guards to take Mo Feng to be treated. Yang Cheng still had a sense of propriety. He had only shaken that fellow to the point of bleeding internally, but not to the extent of losing his life. After all, he had to give his father-in-law some face. I hate it when people say that I'm using my identity as a member of the Yang family to do this and that. It looks like I'll have to advertise on Yinjing TV in the future, and the line will be, "The Yang family is mine, but I'm not necessarily a member of the Yang family." Bored to death, Yang Cheng curled his lips and turned around to continue walking into the Tang residence. The servants at the entrance of the Tang residence subconsciously moved away and even forgot to greet him. Kai Yunqing couldn't help but look at the indifferent Kai Ning beside him and asked, "Ning, what's so good about this man? I really don't understand what you see in him." Sigh. Kai Ning pursed her lips and smiled. "Dad, you're not a woman. Kai Yunqing was taken aback and shook his head helplessly. He brought his men into the Tang residence. The Tang residence was naturally prepared for the arrival of the group of people. When they entered the pavilion outside the Tang residence, the core members of the Tang family were already standing around. Other than those who were overseas, almost all of them had rushed back to the Tang residence to discuss the matter of Tang Xin being the culprit. Because Tang Zhichen was not feeling well, he was sitting in a wheelchair. The person pushing him out was none other than Tang Wan, who had rushed back from Zhonghai. The woman looked a little worried. Although she was still as beautiful as ever, she looked a little haggard. Seeing that Yang Cheng was followed by the two groups of people from the Li family and the Kai family, as well as Tang Xin, Tang Wan immediately looked at Yang Cheng inquiringly. Tang Zhichen and Li Mo's Hen were naturally familiar with each other. As soon as they met, they exchanged a few pleasantries. Then, he greeted Kai Yunqing, who was not very familiar with him. I wonder what brings you all to the Tang residence so early in the morning. Tang Zhichen asked calmly. Li Mo's Hen said heartily, Old man Tang, I am here today as a member of the Security Bureau to investigate the poisoning case of the Tang family. After a thorough investigation, we have made some progress. It just so happens that General Kai is also involved in the investigation, so I came along. We had a discussion with Yang Cheng, who was involved in the case, and we have arranged a tracking plan. So, we came to the Tang residence to reveal the truth of the poisoning case. Kai Yunqing said. Hearing this, the Tang family members immediately turned to look at Tang Xin, who was standing beside Li Dan. Humph! A middle-aged man from the Tang family said disdainfully, What's there to say? We found the poison in Tang Xion's room. Besides, Tang Xin is usually the one who poisoned the victims. She must be the culprit. That little bitch is pregnant with someone else's child. She must be in cahoots with some evil force. Someone else added. Being scolded by the Tang family members, Tang Xion's eyes reddened. She shook her head and said, It's not me. It's really not me. However, her excuses were ignored. Clearly, the crowd had heard Tang Xian deny it too many times. Tang Xian looked at her biological father, standing behind Tang Zhichen, with a pitiful look on her face. But the third lord looked like he was in pain. He sighed and turned his head away, unable to bear to see his daughter's face. This blow made Tang Xion's face even paler. Tang Wan said solemnly, All of you quiet down. How can you be so sure that Xian heir was the one who poisoned the victims? Did you see her do it? Since the masters of the Li family and Kai family are here to solve the case, you can wait for our guest to finish. Hearing Tang Wan defending her, Tang Xian pouted and almost cried. In fact, if Tang Wan had not informed Li Dan to return to Beijing, Tang Xian would have been locked up in jail and tortured. Li Dan was furious to see a group of people bullying Tang Xian. But his father, Li Yunpeng, pulled him back and glared at him. Li Dan could only swallow his anger. Yang Cheng, didn't you go abroad to have a wedding with your wife? Why are you here? Tang Zhichen asked with a smile. Yang Cheng glanced at the Tang family members and said, I didn't want to be here either. But Li Dan and Tang Xian were almost killed at Tianming Lake. If I didn't come back, wouldn't the culprit be happy? What? Killed? Everyone was shocked. Even Li Mo's Hen and Kai Yunqing had just found out about it. What happened? Li Dan, tell us what happened, Li Mo's Hen ordered. Li Dan was finally serious at this moment. He hurriedly told Yang Chen about how he was chased by 5 monsters that appeared out of nowhere at Tianming Lake. As for how Yang Chen suddenly came back, he just brushed it off. After all, he didn't know how to explain it. Umph. Li Mo's Hen sneered a few times. The old man's face revealed a hint of ruthlessness. Mali clan has only one son in 3 generations. He's the only descendant in the family, but he was almost killed by 5 monsters of unknown origin. It seems like I made the right decision to come here today. Anyone who is suspected of doing this must pay the price. Li Dan flattered him. That's right. Old man, look at me. I haven't even gotten married or had children. How sad would it be if I died in the woods? I didn't ask you to talk nonsense. Li Yunpeng scolded. Li Dan grumbled and shrank to the side, but he still stayed close to Tang Xian. Right now, Everyone is pointing their fingers at Miss Tang Xin. Yet, someone has tried to assassinate the two of you at such a critical juncture. There must be a lot of secrets behind this, and they don't want outsiders to know about it. Kai Yinqing smiled. I think there's more to this. Everyone, please calm down. Don't sentence Miss Tang Xin to death. Why don't you listen to our findings? Tang Huang, who was standing beside Tang Zhichen, had been silent all this while. Finally, he spoke in a serious tone. General Kai, why don't you be frank? Have you found out who poisoned Tang Xin? Has she been framed? Or is she guilty? As one of the two contenders for the position of heir, Tang Huang asked on behalf of Tang Zhichen, who was in poor health. Kai Yinqing nodded. Do you remember that in order to find out if there are any spies or traitors in the Tang family, we specially installed surveillance cameras outside the residences of the main members of the Tang family? Of course we remember. Those cameras are still there, but we didn't install them in her room. Even if Tang Xin got the poison from somewhere else and hid it in her room, we wouldn't be able to find out. Someone pointed out. Kai Yinqing smiled. When we installed the cameras, we did point out where we placed them. But what you don't know is that we actually installed another batch of surveillance cameras. As soon as he said that, everyone in the Tang clan's expression changed. What do you mean? Even if it's the Security Bureau, the Li family, and the Kai family, you don't have the right to install additional surveillance cameras without the consent of the Tang family. Are you trying to spy on the Tang family's internal affairs? Someone immediately shouted. Yang Cheng, who had been quiet all this while, grinned. Don't scold the wrong way. I was the one who installed those surveillance cameras. Chapter 974. The people of the Tang clan immediately turned to look at Yang Cheng. Many of them were already filled with anger. Yang Cheng, what is the meaning of this? Do you think the Tang family is a pushover? The group was furious. After all, it was not a good thing to be spied on, especially when the Tang family was not in a peaceful state. Tang Wan was also a little surprised, because Yang Chun had never revealed anything about this matter to her. He was also involved in it. Tang Zhichen raised his hand to signal the family to quiet down. He said with a deep look in his eyes, let's not talk about this first. Since Yang Cheng has installed additional hidden surveillance cameras, what did you see that we don't know? Before we solve this mystery, I think it's necessary to inform everyone of the total number of hidden surveillance cameras installed. Yang Cheng said. Number? That's right. Yang Cheng raised a finger. I only installed one more, and it's only in one of the rooms. It's a pocket surveillance camera made of nanotechnology. So, there's no need to be angry. I'm not interested in what you guys are doing in the room. I'm just installing surveillance cameras on the only person I suspect the most. Everyone looked to their left and right. Tang Huang was the first to speak. Don't tell me you suspect Tang Xin too. Yes, Tang Xin, Yang Cheng said honestly. For a moment, everyone was stunned, but they couldn't help but laugh. Li Dun was also puzzled. Old Yang, who are you helping? You've confused me. Ha, so it's all back to Tang Xin. That be asterisk TCH is really shameless. Tang Xin, on the other hand, looked at Yang Cheng with a disappointed expression. Yang Cheng waved his hand and said, I haven't even finished speaking. How do you know it's Tang Xin? I installed surveillance cameras in the room, but it doesn't mean that I think Tang Xin is the one who poisoned the room. The members of the Tang clan were even more confused now. They couldn't figure out what was going on. Yang Cheng took 2 steps to organize his thoughts. He looked up and said, Tang Wan, do you remember when you brought me to the Ivy Sanatorium in Zhonghai and I found a very advanced listening device in the courtyard? Tang Wan nodded. Of course I remember. I even brought you to my office and home to check. There were also listening devices. We were wondering if there was a spy among our friends. Who else could it be? It was Tang Xin, someone said disdainfully. Yang Cheng ignored it and continued. I thought so too. I went into Tang Wan's office, then into Tang Wan's house in Zhonghai. I felt that Tang Xin was the most suspicious. However, the thing that made me suspect her the most was that when we found the listening device, Tang Xin came to the scene. However, she didn't seem to notice that there was a listening device beside her. She acted as if she didn't see it. If Tang Xin was just an ordinary girl in her 20s who was responsible for taking care of old Master Tang, How could she see such advanced listening devices and not mention them at all? Everyone was stunned. This was indeed abnormal. After all, listening devices were around them. Tang Xian's face tensed up. Her hands gripped her skirt tightly, and her body trembled. If you say that, doesn't it prove that Tang Xian is the spy? Don Huang frowned. Yang Cheng shook his head. No, I thought about it carefully. Because of this, it's almost impossible for Tang Xian to be the one who poisoned the room. What are you trying to say? You're beating around the bush. Everyone was dissatisfied. Yang Chun smiled faintly. The reason why Tang Xian didn't mention anything about the listening device, other than knowing about its existence, was because she didn't want us to associate it with her. That's why Tang Xian chose to avoid talking about it. But because of her poor acting skills, I can't help but suspect that she's the one responsible for the listening devices. But if she's so good at hiding, it's impossible for her to be responsible for poisoning old Master Tang and Tang Wan without being discovered every day. I understand now. Tang Wan's eyes lit up. She smiled. It's because Xian Air isn't a professional spy that she can't be the one who poisoned the room. But she must have some clues on her. Only after hearing this did the group of people come to a sudden realization. Tang Xian's mouth was slightly agape. She didn't expect Yang Cheng to have his eyes on her just because she didn't mention the listening devices on purpose. If that's the case, then who poisoned the room? What does it have to do with Tang Xian? Tang Wan asked anxiously. Li Mozhen instructed the accompanying agents to bring a thin notebook to the center of the crowd. This is a video recording of the person who brought the poison into Tang Xian's room. Old Tang, after you've watched it, you should hand the person over. I'm here today to give you face, Li Mozhen said meaningfully. Tang Zhichen's eyes flashed with a hint of confusion, but his expression was calm. Under everyone's nervous gaze, the agent opened his laptop and clicked on the play of the video. A picture taken by a pinhole camera and recorded the specific time was displayed. On the screen, an old man who looked like he was taking a stroll opened Tang Xian's room door from the outside. After entering the room, he tampered with the poison and stuffed it into the electrical pipe of the lamp on Tang Xian's desk. The duration of the process was less than 3 minutes, probably during the day when Tang Xian wasn't around. Everyone couldn't believe their eyes when they saw the person in the video. It's Dad, Third Master Tang exclaimed. How is that possible? It's old Master. The Tang family was in an uproar. Tang Xian, on the other hand, was as pale as a sheet. She looked at Tang Zhichen in disbelief. Grandpa, it's you? Tang Wan, who was holding onto the wheelchair, almost lost her balance. She had to rely on the support of the other family members to prevent herself from falling backwards. How did this happen? Tang Wan looked at the silent old man in the wheelchair with teary eyes. Kai Yunqing said seriously, Old Master Tang, we respect you. That's why Lord Li and I came here personally to ask you to cooperate with us. The poisoning incident in the Tang family might have something to do with Yin Buin's experiment. Since you're the mastermind behind it, you have to give us an explanation. Old man Tang, we've known each other for many years. You're much older than me, but the older you get, the more muddle-headed you become. Li Mozhen sighed and shook his head. Tang Zhichen, who had been looking down the whole time, suddenly burst into laughter. In the end, his laughter grew louder and louder until it turned into laughter. In an instant, he seemed to have become a few years younger. His originally gloomy face had a tinge of red. Tang Zhichen's eyes glinted as he stood up from his wheelchair. He didn't look like a sickly old man who wasn't feeling well at all. I didn't expect this. Tang Zhichen stood with his hands behind his back. He turned to look at Yang Cheng and said, I can't believe an old man like me would be tricked by a young man who's a generation younger than me. Good, the younger generation will surpass the older. I thought you were just a martial artist, but I didn't expect you to be so meticulous. Yang Cheng ignored Tang Zhichen and walked to the center of the Tang family to stand beside Tang Wan. He gently hugged Tang Wan and comforted the woman's uncontrollable pain. Most of the people in the Tang clan were secretly aware of the relationship between the two. In such a large clan, it wasn't unusual to have lovers, so not many people paid attention to such an action. Instead, they felt that Yang Chun was rather considerate. After being hugged by Tang Zhichen, Tang Wan couldn't help but cry on Yang Cheng's shoulder. Seeing Tang Zhichen get up so energetically, she knew that Tang Zhichen had lied to the whole family. In other words, all the effort she had put in for the old man might have been a lie. There was no pain worse than being betrayed by a loved one. Tang Zhichen frowned when he saw Tang Wan crying. "Stop crying. What a scandal. If you want to achieve great things, it's nothing to be wronged. Xiao Wan, do you think I'm not your grandfather just because I lied to you?" Tang Huang, who was standing at the side, said in a trembling voice after a moment of shock and struggle, "Grandfather, how can you do this? What are you doing?" Tang Zhichen snorted. "What am I doing? Don't tell me that what Grandpa does is for you little ones to suffer losses. Everything I'm doing is for the Tang family's 100-year plan. Old man Tang, it seems like you're not going to give in." Li Moshen's tone deepened. The agents behind him quickly surrounded Tang Xian. Tang Xian subconsciously grabbed Li Dun's sleeve and asked while sobbing, "Grandfather, why do you have to hurt Xian Heir? Is it for Xian Heir's good?" Tang Zhichen turned his head and said indifferently, "Since we want to achieve great things, there must be sacrifices. You have no other purpose in the Tang family other than serving the family. Now that you've helped me and Yin Buin to achieve what we have today, you should feel honored even if you die." Yin Buin. Everyone was shocked. It really has something to do with Yin Buin. Kai Yinqing looked at the stunned Tang Xian and said, "Tang Xian and Yin Buin have some connections. We've already found some clues. However, we didn't expect that Tang Xian was just a cover. The real mastermind was you, the master of the Tang family." Chapter 975. It's too late. Although what I'm about to do isn't perfect, it's not far from it. I don't care even if you want to take me away now. Plus, you might not be able to do it, Tang Zhichen sneered. Yang Cheng let go of Tang Wan and walked to Tang Zhichen. He smiled and said, "I admit that you're very meticulous. Although I want to kill you for what you've done, I have to admire your courage. When I first saw you, you were indeed poisoned and mentally deranged. I've confirmed this, and so has Jane. Naturally, it's not fake. This is also why I couldn't suspect you. I didn't expect you to become mentally deranged in order to get my blood." Oh, you guessed it? The wrinkles on Tang Zhichen's face smoothed out a little. Kai Yunqing and the others who knew what was going on were shocked. "Yang Cheng, you're saying that Yin Buin was the one who provided your genes for the biochemical experiments?" Yang Cheng nodded. "I was puzzled at the beginning. There weren't many people who could hurt me, and if my blood wasn't preserved well, it would lose its effectiveness in a short period of time. It was almost impossible to get my blood. I thought about it and realized that only I would use some of my blood to treat my women, but they wouldn't betray me. Now, I can finally connect all the dots. You must have listened to Yin Buin and planned to use Tang Wan and me to find an opportunity to poison yourself. After a few months, your condition gradually worsened. When the time is right, when you haven't completely lost your mind, but when your mind is indeed unstable, you can pretend to be a fool and come to Zhonghai, hoping that I can use my blood and inner force to help you expel the poison. Unfortunately, you missed one point. You wanted to keep your sanity to get my blood, so your condition wasn't as serious as Tang wants. That's why Tang Wan invited Professor Andre to treat you. You found out that I wasn't the one who was treating you, so you sent people to assassinate Andre. These people were naturally provided to you by Yin Buin. They were all men of sacrifice, so they wouldn't be able to trace it back to you. After Andre died, you finally saw me, but I didn't dare to treat your illness at will, so I asked Jane to do it. You originally planned to kill Jane like you killed Andre, but you didn't expect that I would arrange the Grunin masters of Yamata's sect to protect her, so you didn't succeed." Tang Zhichen clapped his hands and said, "You're right. I didn't expect that you would ask Princess Jane to come to Zhonghai to treat me. She had a special identity, so it was impossible for her to assassinate her again and again. I could only give up. But judging from your cautiousness of not daring to treat me rashly, you do care a lot about our Lil Wan." Seeing that Tang Zhichen was still in the mood to make sarcastic remarks, the people around him were shocked. They couldn't understand why the old man could be so calm in such a tense situation. Then, those eavesdropping devices and the mess in the family. Are they all? Tang Xian's father, the third Lord Tang, didn't dare to continue the thought. Yang Cheng sighed and said, "That's right. Be it the eavesdropping devices, the assassins, or the mess in the family, it's all a cover-up, just like Tang Xian. I remember that Tang Wan told me that the outside world hoped that she and Tang Huang would fight to the death when old man Tang was sick. But now it seems that this is just everyone's speculation. At the very least, when I met Tang Huang, I didn't think that he was an unreasonable person. Even if the two of them fought for the inheritance of the Tang family, they wouldn't really make the Tang family suffer. So, at that time, I vaguely felt that it wasn't that simple. But I didn't expect that it was all just a facade. So you're saying that I was poisoned just to get more blood from you?" Tang Wan had already calmed down. Her eyes were red as she asked. Yang Cheng looked at the woman with a pained expression and nodded. "That's right, because he learned his lesson. The poison that the old man secretly gave you was enough to kill you within 2 to 3 days. This was also so that I wouldn't have time to ask Jane to come to Yanjin to detoxify the poison. My blood can resist all kinds of poisons, so I naturally used a lot of it to achieve my goal of treating you. If I remember correctly, when I cured you, the first thing you did was to do a blood test. In such a short period of time, the cells I left in your blood wouldn't have disappeared. As long as they are preserved properly, they can naturally be extracted and used in experiments. I remember now." Tang Xian suddenly covered her mouth. "I was beside Grandpa at that time, and he was the one who took the initiative to do a blood test. Oof. You don't know what's good for you, and you still have the mood to accuse Grandpa?" Tang Zhichen sneered. "Xian heir, even though you weren't the one who poisoned me, Grandpa knows about your relationship with Yin Buin. I believe that the Li family, Kai family, and Yang Cheng all knew about it. Do you think that just because Grandpa was the one who poisoned you, you'll be fine?" Tang Xian's face instantly fell. Her thin lips trembled, and she couldn't say a word. "All right, since we're at this point, Grandpa might as well tell you something else," Tang Zhichen said slowly. "The reason why I sent people to kill you today is because you already have Yin Buin's child in your womb." That's Yin Buin's child?" The Tang family members were in an uproar, especially third Elder Tang. He was so shocked that he wanted to go forward and slap Tang Xian. Tang Xian, on the other hand, held her stomach and her body tensed up. "Yin Buin should have told you that he doesn't want that child. And because of that child, your existence is no longer beneficial to us. That's why I wanted to use this opportunity to send you to prison. If you were lucky, you could still live after the child was aborted. But unfortunately, Shaoan sent Li Dun to take you away. That way, it would save us a lot of trouble. Now that we've brought so many people here, I was planning to keep up the act, but now that I've exposed you, I might as well end this quickly." "Grandpa," Tang Wan screamed. "How can you say that about Xian heir? She's been taking care of you all these years. She's your granddaughter. What are you doing this for?" Tang Zhichen's expression turned serious. "Why? Of course it's for the Tang family to become the #1 family in Huaxia. It's for my dead son, and for your father to avenge him." "My father?" Tang Wan was taken aback, somewhat at a loss. Yang Cheng frowned. He recalled that Tang Zhichen had mentioned that Tang Wan's father was Tang Lin, the eldest son whom Tang Zhichen doted on the most. But because of his mental illness, he killed Tang Wan's mother and committed suicide. Could there be more to it? Tang Zhichen's face was filled with pain. Ma Luan was still so young. If it wasn't for those sanctimonious so-called guardians of Huaxia, he wouldn't have died so young. Yang Cheng's heart skipped a beat. "You're talking about Hao Meng." Tang Zhichen glanced at him. "I don't have to say so much. Since I've been exposed, there's no turning back. Today, it's either you or me who dies. You're overthinking it. Even if your son died a horrible death, you have no reason to shirk your responsibility," Li Mozhen said. "Ha ha." Tang Zhichen laughed. "What's the point of saying so much? Everything has already happened. Yang Cheng, you should have seen 5 finished products when you saved Li Dun. There are more than 5 bio-soldiers that have been genetically modified by you. Those are just a few of the ones that Yin Buin sent to me. These killing machines only know how to follow orders. If they were in a normal battle, it would be no laughing matter. That's not necessarily true. Since you're in contact with Yin Buin, as long as we can find Yin Buin's whereabouts from you, we'll be able to eliminate the source of the problem, Yang Cheng said. As soon as he finished speaking, a sarcastic laughter came from the sky above the Tang family. A man in a dirty white coat, with disheveled hair and a face full of stubble, slowly descended in front of them, as if he was riding an invisible elevator. There's no need to look. I've been waiting for a long time. Yin Buin's eyes were filled with bloodlust. The smile on his face was exaggerated. Chapter 976. Yin Buin's sudden appearance not only caused everyone to subconsciously take a few steps back, but even Yang Cheng was caught off guard. He only noticed Yin Buin's presence when he appeared in the air. What kind of enhancement did he give himself with the God's Stone? How could he hide his aura so perfectly? Yin Buin, you're finally out. I thought you were going to be a coward for the rest of your life. You have to give us an explanation for all the things you've done. Kai Yunsheng waved his hand, and all the special forces from the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade surrounded him. Yin Buin sneered. Yellow Flame Iron Brigade? Are you kidding me? Do you think you can fight me with just the likes of you? Don't you think it's suicide? Fighting and dying have nothing to do with each other. Yang Chen looked at Kai Yunsheng's righteous expression and smiled helplessly. All right, father-in-law, just accept it. His strength is no longer within the realm of a human. There's no need for him to die. These soldiers have their families too. You have to think about them. Li Mo's hen was amused. You still have the time to think about other people's families? Yang Cheng sighed. I think I understand now. Before we came, Old Man Tang must have talked to this lunatic. We're the ones being ambushed, not the other way around. Congratulations, you're right. Yin Buin laughed and snapped his fingers. All of a sudden, a large group of expressionless burly men appeared from all around the Tang residence, behind the walls of the houses and courtyards. There were more than 30 of them, and more than 10 of them were carrying shiny silver weapons that looked like rocket launchers, but had no warheads. They looked more like handheld cannons. They were all dressed in the Tang residence's servants' uniforms. They had obviously been lying in ambush, waiting for an opportunity. Damn it, don't tell me these guys are made from old Yang's genes as well. Li Dun complained. However, Yang Cheng did not pay attention to these people. Instead, he felt an immense pressure from the dozen or so cannons that were scattered in various directions. Vice Premier Li, General Kai, you don't seem to be afraid. Do you think everything will be fine because Yang Cheng is here? Yin Buin smiled mockingly and said, Before you die, I'll let you die knowing that today, all of you will follow Yang Cheng to your deaths. Because my purpose for coming here today is to kill him on the spot. You said you wanted to kill me last time, but didn't you run away by yourself in the end? Yang Cheng chuckled. But you can't deny that I already hurt you last time. Yin Buin's eyes were filled with malevolence. You should be very curious about the power of the Godstone that I used. It can actually hurt you. Don't worry, I've already controlled this power in the palm of my hand. Later, I will use 10 times, or even 100 times more destructive power than last time to completely turn you into ashes. Yang Cheng glanced at the silver cannons and said, You can't be thinking that this bunch of scrap metal can hit me, right? No, of course I'm not stupid enough to hit you. After saying that, Yin Buin snapped his fingers again. They could only see a strong man standing on the balcony of the second floor furthest away. The muzzle of the silver cannon in his hand was flashing with a silver-gray halo. Boom! After a loud commotion that shook the entire space, a beam of silver-gray light that resembled a scalpel abruptly pierced through several servants of the Tang family, who were closest to it. The 3 servants were still in a state of shock, but for some reason, after being pierced by the ray, their bodies started to shrivel and distort from the point of impact. In the end, they became mummified corpses and quickly disintegrated on the ground, leaving behind a pile of clothes in the end. The silver-gray ray pierced through the 3 servants and landed on the ground. From the soil to the rock straight and below, it went straight through and created a bottomless hole the size of a bowl. Yang Cheng's eyes widened. He was all too familiar with this power. Last time, Yin Buin used this power to injure him. But because his cultivation was much higher than Yin Buin's, he was able to forcefully suppress him with the heaven and earth restoration energy. But now, Yin Buin had used this power to create more than 10 cannons. If these cannons were fired at the same time, and they were aimed at ordinary people, even if they were Xiantian realm cultivators like Kai Ning and Li Dun, they would not be able to withstand this terrifying power unless they dodged. Kai Yunqing, Li Mo's hen, and the others looked solemn. They had also miscalculated. They did not expect Yin Buin to appear at this time and set up such an ambush. Tang Zhuchen said angrily, Yin Buin, if you want to test your research, don't use my people. There are so many enemies here, can't you see? That's enough, old man. It's just that the 3 unlucky bastards are closer, Yin Buin said nonchalantly. He then turned to Yang Cheng and said, what do you think? Isn't my masterpiece beautiful? Especially the process of penetrating a person and disintegrating them into nothingness. I'm so fascinated by it. Madman, Tang Wan looked at the 3 servants' costumes that had lost their owners and couldn't help but curse. You're just a crazy pervert. Yin Buin frowned. Oh, this is the daughter of the Tang family. TSK. I heard that you're also Yang Cheng's woman. What do you think Yang Cheng will do if I shoot you with a cannon? That's enough. Tang Zhuchen said angrily, I'm going to kill those bastards today. Don't you dare scare my granddaughter. Tang Wan saw that Tang Zhuchen was protecting her and said, Grandpa, if you want to protect us, why are you working with this lunatic? Tang Zhuchen snorted, I'm only keeping those who are useful to the Tang family alive. It's not a big deal if some of them die. All right, I'm getting impatient. Yin Buin glanced at the people present and grinned when he saw Kai Ning. Isn't this the daughter of the Kai family? Interesting. As soon as he finished speaking, the silver cannons around Kai Ning formed a cross formation and shone brightly. Yang Cheng was shocked. Ning watch out. At the same time, Kai Ning leaped high up from where she was standing, and in that instant, 4 silver-gray pillars of light pierced through her position. 2 of them happened to hit 2 of the agents brought by Kai Yunqing. Like the 3 servants, they shriveled up and disappeared without a trace. Ha! I forgot that Miss Kai is good at martial arts. How about we switch to Miss Kai's father this time? It was as if all the strong men around him were under Yin Buin's control. 4 more strong men raised their cannons and were ready to shoot at Kai Yunqing. Yang Cheng knew that Kai Yunqing was definitely going to die. Just as he was about to rush over and save Kai Yunqing, he suddenly felt a powerful true core energy descending from the sky. When the 4 silver beams of light were shot at Kai Yunqing from the muzzles, a bronze, rotating, gigantic shield that was covered in weird runes and glittering with a dazzling golden light suddenly appeared in front of Kai Yunqing.